Andres, so you're 18 years old, making 300K a month. What I want to know here starting out is like, what in your early childhood even turned you into the type of guy who could be 18, doing these numbers, having this kind of work ethic and this mindset at such a young age?
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting. I think what it fundamentally comes down to across the board is competitiveness. That's number one. So if I look at like anything I've ever done, like before I ever got into business, sales, any of that stuff, I went semi-pro in soccer, for example, when I was 16. And I was playing in U21, so I was playing against 20-year-olds, blah, 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 when I was 16. I think the biggest reason why is because when you're just that competitive, you just want to win at anything you do. So it could be soccer, it could be, then I went into agency, marketing, sales, all of it. Just anything I want to do, I wanted to win at it. And it's really interesting because people always ask me the question of like, well, how do you develop that competitiveness, right? And I don't think you develop it. I think every man fundamentally is born with that competitiveness inherently inside of them. And then in now modern day society, it kind of gets feminized out of you to where you're like, you stop having the work ethic, you stop having any dreams or big ambitions that you pursue. And I think that's honestly one of the biggest issues when it comes to people trying to succeed now in business or sales or whatever they have aspirations for, is they've lost that sense of competitiveness or competition of like, I want to destroy, I want to fucking win. And so, yeah, I think really it was just a byproduct of my competitiveness that I've had my entire life, and that's what allowed me to succeed and get into it.
I totally agree with that. I think like it's so important to have that competitive side and then also really lean into it. And I've noticed, at least for me, it's like I'm naturally such a competitive person. It's like I just need to be the best in pretty much whatever I do. And I think like for so long in my life, like I was kind of suppressing that side of myself. But now it's like, now that I'm doing business, now that I'm doing this podcast, and I've really learned to lean into it, I've seen so much more success and done so much better now that I've harnessed that competitiveness. And absolutely. So I think it's so important.
I think that's what makes it really interesting as well, because it's like, in order to achieve any level of success in anything that you do, you need to fundamentally have that sense of competitiveness and of wanting to win. But the issue is, if you look at 100%. Society, I mean, it's designed to completely take that away from you. Like, if any top person in any industry goes out and they're like, I want to fucking tear everybody apart and step on their throats and destroy them, that's viewed as a bad thing in society now. Like, you're put down for that. And so naturally in society, you get award medals for participation trophies now in fucking sports. And so it's like society tries to take that competitiveness away from you now more than ever, because if you have that competitiveness, then you're going to do things that are abnormal. You're not just going to take the normal traditional job route and everything else, because you want to make more money than everybody. You want to have more fame. You're going to be more successful. And so it's really interesting because you need that to be successful in anything you do, but the world in modern day society tries and remove that from you as a person.
100%. And I think this is such a normal human thing as well. It's like every human, bro, every man specifically has that competitive side and like that natural desire just to like beat everybody and like be at the top of their industries. It's nothing at all that you should be ashamed of. So do you think there was like ever a point in your life where like you were suppressing that, or do you think like you've always just harnessed it and played into it?
I was really lucky. I think at some point in elementary school, which is obviously very, very young, that started to get removed out of me, but I caught it very early on. And the reason I caught it wasn't even on purpose. It was just because when I was in middle school and high school, for example, I always felt like I didn't fit in to the crowd that I was in. In middle school, it was like I was the one kind of doing the bullying. So I went to this school that demographic, 95% Asian, all complete nerds. Nobody played sports. Nobody did anything. Nobody nowadays is actually successful. Maybe they'll be fucking engineers or writers for all I know. But so there it was kind of like I was the active one, the one doing this and this and that. Then I went to high school, and then it was the other way, where everybody was just completely retarded and extremely stupid. And so then I was the one getting made fun of and stuff in those groups. And so I think I was very lucky in the sense that I never really got nurtured and indoctrinated into that, because I never felt like I fit into the systems that I was put into, which allowed me to maintain my competitiveness because I wasn't assimilating to my environment.
What do you think in your early years gave you that feeling of not fitting in?
The people that I was around and what they wanted for themselves. So a big part of it as well, when I reflect on it, is that both of my parents are immigrants, right? One came from Mexico, the slums of Mexico, the other one from Venezuela, right? Which obviously a lot of people know about the Venezuela thing right now, so not necessarily the best country. But they were both immigrants, and they instilled a lot of that immigrant mentality into me of like, fight for what you want. You need to fucking pressure shit, very traditional type of values. And so then when I go into a middle school and I see a bunch of 95% Asian demographic, everybody in front of a fucking notebook studying all the time, they don't want to play any sports. They're like, you would say the word retard and they would attack you. They would gang up on you like a fucking pack of hyenas, like on your ass for the simplest shit, like no freedom of speech, nothing. Or they try and remove it from you in that degree. And when I saw that, it was like that went against everything I believed in, everything I'd grown up with. And I was like, well, I'm not going to let that happen to me. Like, I'm not becoming one of them. And so it was really the people that I was around contradicting the values that I grew up with, which is why I'm extremely thankful for the values my parents instilled in me and the experiences that they had, right? That benefited me a lot, obviously. And so, yeah, and then transitioning into high school, then it was all these people who also had like, just did retard shit, went to parties, and it was a private school. And so all these kids had these massive egos, this massive sense of entitlement. Many of their parents were multi-millionaires or even close to billionaires. And these kids were like, oh, I'm set for life. I don't have to do anything. And again, that contradicted that immigrant mentality that my parents kind of instilled into me. And so it was really just a distinction between seeing these people around me being like, I don't want to be like them. And if I don't want to be like them, I can't be worse than them. So I have to fucking destroy them and step on their throats. That's how I thought of it. And now, I mean, if you look at the math, I make more now than every person in my grade and middle school combined put together against me.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all. Like, bro, for me when I was younger, like I definitely did not feel like I fit in at all in my middle school, especially. Like I remember back in middle school, bro, I had like barely any friends, but there was just this part of me that like I really wanted to prove all of them wrong, and I think that was like the original thing that got me going in business and like made me so ambitious in the first place. Like I like for some reason I don't know what it was. Like I just knew back then like I'm gonna be fucking rich. I'm gonna do something with my life and prove all these guys wrong. And yeah, bro, that just like lit a fire in me and was like the original thing that got me going.
Yeah, same for me as well. It was like I felt like I was underneath everybody, like I didn't fit in, and it was like, well, that ain't gonna happen. I need to fucking destroy everybody here. And then that pushed me at the beginning. Now that drive only really lasts so long, like that can really only take you so far. But I think it's by far what the majority of entrepreneurs or people get into sales or become very successful at a young age. I think that's what drives them as well. Most entrepreneurs I know at some point in their life were bullied or made fun of or criticized or whatever it might have been at some point in their life. And so then they had to fight that, and they had to, in their own mind, prove those people wrong and prove themselves right. And that's a massive motivator. That's a massive drive.
And it's so funny speaking to like all these successful entrepreneurs here on like doing these podcasts, getting to know their backstories. Pretty much none of them were like super popular back in high school, and like pretty much none of these people just had everything handed to them. It's like they all started off in a similar place to me and you. It was like honestly feeling beneath people and just like having this chip on their shoulder. And I think like it's also just important to admit that to yourself, admit like your real desires. Like, yeah, I want to fucking be the best. I want to fucking prove all these guys wrong. Because that's like when you can actually let it motivate you and like really push you forward and like be one of the driving force in your success. So
absolutely.
I remember you said in one of your videos, within your first year or two of sales, you became the #1 rep in a $40 million company, and you were out collecting the rest of the team combined. You were like 16, 17 that time, which is insane. And they were like 40 or 50. So what did you do differently than those guys? And like what traits back then as like a 16, 17-year-old set you apart from all these like 40 or 50-year-olds?
I think the idea that age dictates value, I think is retarded. I think the only thing that age can give you is experience. But that doesn't tell you, is it good experience? Is it bad experience? All these people, these 40, 50-year-olds, they all have more experience than I do. But it clearly ain't the right kind of experience if they're still making 10 grand a month after 30 fucking years in their life. And so like, I think what it really comes down to is when you're young, the couple of advantages you have are #1, you don't have bad habits in place. So it gives you a clean slate that you can start on. You do not have these bad habits. That's #1. #2, you have absolute focus that they cannot have. These people have families. These people have other commitments. Well, they wouldn't have to follow those commitments, but they choose to. They have other commitments. They, I don't know, fucking want to go take salsa classes on the weekend, whatever the fuck it is, right? And so you have this absolute focus that they cannot have. That is your second advantage. And your third advantage is time. And that goes back to the focus thing. It's very, very similar in the sense that like when you're that young, you can work 16, 17, 18 hours a day. Regardless of what you want to tell yourself, you can do it physically. Those 40-year-olds, some of them, there's some exceptional ones. Like if you look at like a Tony Robbins or something like that, those are the exceptions. But the majority can't. They feel, oh, I'm burnt out. Because they've had all these beliefs in their mind for so long. Their body's worn down. They're physically older. So those are like your three advantages. And so that's what I really mastered. And that's what I really made the most of. That's from a more mindset perspective. And then if you look at it from a more technical perspective, the natural advantages that I had is that, well, number one, I was able to be like, okay, what are the main things? What are the fundamentals, right? Fundamentals in anything that you do get you 90% of the results. And everybody knows that. But it's not enough to know something. You got to actually use it. And so while all these other people, and even a lot of young people nowadays, they start focusing in sales on these advanced, NLP, no psychology, all this other bullshit. It's like, yeah, that might get you from a 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 in sales. That's not what gets you from 0 to the 9 in the first place. And so I was very conscious about that. And I was like, exactly, I'm going to focus on the fundamentals. My script, my body language, my verbal cues. That's it. And you focus on that for long enough with absolute focus, absolute intensity, absolute hunger, and you just beat everybody else. If you think about it, and I always ask people this question, if you improve 10% a month for 12 months for an entire year, how much do you improve at the end of that year after 12 months? 10% a month.
Probably like 1,000%, like
it's
800%.
It's not that high. It's not that high. But most people say 120%. But no, there's compounding. Because the first month, you're at 100%, you improve 10%, great, now you're at 110. But then you improve 10% of 110. So it's not 120, and it compounds upwards. It's around like 300, a little bit higher than 300%. And so what I realized is like, if I can have one process, right, with my script, my body language, and my verbal cues, and every single week, all I do is change one thing. If there's, I don't even fucking know. I didn't graduate high school, obviously. If there's like 52 weeks in a year, whatever, I think it's like 52, 53, 54, something around there, right? If you make 54 straight improvements for an entire year, that's a lot of fucking improvements if they're all correct. And when it compounds with each other, eventually you end up being fucking amazing. And that's what I did. And that's how I became the best.
Yeah. So you said the fundamentals are your script, your verbal cues, and your body language, right? So which out of those should someone start to master first? Or which is like the first thing people should focus on?
Script. Absolutely. It goes script, body language, verbal cues. That's the order.
Right. And then, so I remember in one of your videos, something you said that was interesting was like, so a lot of people in sales, they say like tonality is super important. You got to have the perfect tonality. But then you were saying like body language is actually more important than that.
By far. I'll put it to you this way. If you try and consciously think right now, I'm going to change how the air comes out of my vocal cords to make it sound curious. What the fuck does that mean? And that's what you're saying when you're like, work on your tonality. But no. In human psychology, and this has been proven over and over and over again, your body language is the remote control to your tonality. So if you try and focus on your tonality and how this air comes out of your fucking vocal cords, it's not going to do anything. But if you just focus on your actual body language, number one, it's way more simple. It's not complicated at all. There are certain things you do with your body language and your gesturing to create certain tonalities, which is not an opinion. It is proven. Yeah. And it's not difficult. Then that allows you to actually have the proper tonality in an actual simple way. That's correct.
And I think people can smell inauthenticity as well. It's like if you're trying to have this fake tonality and then seem like this other person trying to seem super curious when you're actually not, people can pick up on it like that. It's so easy. Then it's like you lose all the trust, lose the sale.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, so I really want to get into tactically, like exactly what someone who's watching this right now can do to make their first 10K a month in 3 months of sales. So I want to start right now. So let's say like I am someone who I'm just getting into sales. I want to make my first 10K a month. What's the common advice that you hear all the time that I should not follow?
The common advice, let me think, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of stupid people in this industry. The whole mastering tonality thing, which we've already covered a little bit, that's retarded. Like, if you believe that shit, hit a little brain wipe or something, because that doesn't work. Number two, I would say, well, this is a more common one popping up now, which I don't know how people ever believe this, that you don't need a script. So people are like, oh, you need to sound authentic. You need to be yourself. You don't need a script. You don't need a process. That's like, I'm sorry, buddy. Your personality is not so interesting that you just choose to be yourself and all of a sudden you become a sales millionaire. Like, you're not that guy. The only way that works, by the way, that you would naturally do all the manipulation and psychology tricks and all that stuff in normal conversation without actually knowing it and without a script is if you've been through some kind of like extreme trauma or something happened in your life that forced you to learn this method of communication and everything else.
You're part of the CIA.
Then maybe you'll do it. Or maybe if you're from the fucking CIA, which then stay with the CIA. That's a lot cooler than sales. But like that's the only way that you would learn that manipulation stuff subconsciously and use in your communication. And so if that's not you and you have not been left in a tree when you're 2 years old in Africa or something and you don't have any extreme trauma, then you're going to have to make a conscious decision to use those different things. And so The easiest way to do that is with a script. Because if I have a script that's asking the consequence questions and future pacing and prehandling and doing all these other things and connecting their current process, like their diet, with the fact that they haven't lost weight, their problem. And that naturally, psychologically makes them want to push away from, like, if I have a script that does all those things, it allows me to use these manipulation or psychology hacks, or whatever you want to call it, to get the outcome I want in an effective way. Because you're not able to just do that subconsciously, again, unless you've been through this trauma and everything else. And so this whole nuance of, oh, I'm just going to be myself, like, that shit does not work.
So what do you think is the balance of, like, following a script while also staying authentic? Because a piece of advice that I hear a lot of times sales-wise is like, oh yeah, like scripts are good, like having the proper framework's more important. So what do you think would be like the balance of like having a framework that you loosely follow and like having a good script?
It's a good question. I think the main thing isn't about how much you follow the script versus your personality. I think the main thing is about making a script that feels authentic to you. That's the difference. So for example, when I'm teaching people, I don't tell them, here's the script, copy it word for word, do this, do that. No, I adjust it for them first. Like there was a guy I was coaching this morning, for example, Stan. And I was like, I was going over a question with him and I was like, I'm a lot more aggressive. Your personality is a lot more passive. So like change this wording. And he was like, I'm passive? I'm not passive. And I was like, Stan, do you think you're more aggressive than me? And he goes, no. And I was like, that's your answer. You are passive. Right? So like you adjust the script a little bit based on your personality and who you are as a person. It makes no sense that somebody that is super passive or like afraid of confrontation is going to try and sell like me, because it's not going to work. Because I get confrontation and resistance at the beginning of a call on purpose to draw it out and handle it and overcome it rather than trying to get it at the end. Somebody who's a little bit more passive might do better getting it at the end. Right? And so like that's where there's some nuance there. But then once you have a script that matches your personality and feels authentic and it's truly you, then you follow that shit word for word every single time and you don't change it. True mastery in sales is when you can review 10 of your calls and they all sound the exact same. The only difference is what the prospect said. That's true mastery in sales. And so that's what it ultimately should be. And if people are like, oh, but I want to be authentic, I want to be myself, then it's like, well, what matters more to you? Is it being authentic and being yourself, or is it helping the fucking person you're speaking to? Because your authentic self isn't good at sales.
That's a great point. And then, so one thing I really like that you mentioned was, like, if you find you have a more passive personality, then you got to approach sales in a different way than somebody like you who, let's say, is more aggressive. So one issue that I've definitely had in the past with sales is, like, when it comes to the objection handling part, having that, like, people-pleasing side of me come out, like, being afraid to handle objections. And, like, that was something that held me back for, like, the longest period of time. Oh, and I know a lot of other people who do sales have that impulse as well. So let's say somebody does have more of that people pleasing side them, or like they do have a more passive personality. What exactly can they do to turn that into more of a strength than a weakness?
It's a really interesting question. I think there is a certain middle ground where a lot of people will be like, oh, if you're introverted, use that as your strength. Oh, if you're extroverted, use that as your strength. And there is some truth to that, but I think there is a middle ground where it is better to be in the middle than it is to be extremely introverted or extremely extroverted. And so you do kind of have to shift that and learn to channel the other one. I'm very introverted by nature. Do I sound introverted right now?
No, you don't.
Because I've practiced it so much that I've learned to channel it in very specific situations. And so I think everybody needs to learn to do that. And the easiest way, and this is the biggest mistake people make with this, is they try and shift slowly. So they're super passive on one call, and then the next call they go, you know what, I'm going to be a little bit less passive, then a little bit less, and a little bit less. And that doesn't work because you're always fighting your nature. And so then you just default to going back and going back and going back. What you have to do instead is you overcorrect as much as possible. So if you're extremely introverted, for example, you go, okay, I'm going to be super arrogant, super extroverted on these next 10 calls to where I feel like I'm a fucking dick, to where I wouldn't even like me either. You just go all the way to the end. And then I can review that call with that person and be like, great, now we know what both spectrums look like. Now let's find somewhere in the middle. Because then you've already gotten rid of that fear of being super extrovert and being arrogant. And so now you're able to find a good middle ground to actually match with. And then that's going to be the best place to sell from, right? And so I think the best way to shift that and learn it is to go all the way over and then go back until you find the good middle ground.
So what exactly did you do when you first started become more extroverted?
I did what I just described. At the very beginning when I first started, all my calls, I decided I'm going to be extremely arrogant on purpose. And I had people who hung up the phone on me. I had people who told me to fuck off. I had people that I triggered so much resistance and they got fucking pissed. And they left Google reviews on the company's website talking about me specifically.
Yeah.
That's how arrogant I was. But you do that on purpose. And then again, after that, then I reviewed those calls. And I was like, well, now I'm not scared of it. If anything, it's kind of funny. Somebody would leave a Google review about you. Like, let's be honest, it's pretty funny. But I just went all the way, and then I was like, okay, cool. Now let's find a good middle ground. And then I dialed it back, and then now I have a good middle ground of like how I'll normally act in a normal scenario. Then whenever I want to be introverted, I can be introverted. I can be by myself, no problem. If I'm watching a movie with buddies or whatever, which I don't really do very often, but if I am, they'll all sit together, whatever, and I'll be the one on, like, okay, there's a fucking like little one-person couch. I don't know if I'm pointing at the right. Yeah, that is the right thing, actually. That's a little one-person couch right there, and then there's like a massive couch over there, and I always just sit here alone because I like being by myself, right? But if I'm like at an event or I'm networking, then I have to be very extroverted, but now I can do all of them because I'm not scared of either.
Right. And I think that is such a superpower, especially the introvertedness, because so many people, it's like they want to start a business, they want to have all the success, but it's like they're just scared of being alone. And like there's some people I know who I remember some of my friends in high school, like, physically could not be alone, like, needed someone to go with them to, like, the store or, like, the other side of the school. Like, it's just crazy. Like, some people...
You know the worst part? It's that a lot of natural introverts feel bad that they're alone in that period in high school, whatever it is. They feel bad that they're alone, and so they go, holy shit, I always need to be with somebody. I always need to be with another person. And they end up secretly hating that. They actually want to be alone, but they get this fear of missing out. And so like, oh, I need to be around other people. And that used to even be me at one point, right? And so they want to be alone, but because of this fear of missing out, they're like, no, I need to be around people. I need to go here. I need to go there. And so they end up just adapting to everybody else, and they just become like the little bitch boy of the group, basically. And so
I know, exactly.
It's sad.
But then when you're an introvert, like, what's great is like you naturally have this sense of independence and like high agency. Like, you naturally just do whatever the fuck you want and like listen to your intuition rather than like looking to other people for approval. And it's like when you can harness that while still being able to be an extrovert and while still like finding enjoyment in being around other people and like developing your social skills, I think that is like the best place to be.
Absolutely. It's a superpower.
100%. So do you think sales is something that someone's born with or something that someone has to develop? Because that's a big limiting belief a lot of people have.
Yeah, absolutely developed. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
There's been people there's fucking a guy named Ayush, Indian with an Indian accent. He was dealt the worst sales cards you could possibly have, having an Indian accent and sounding like a scammer. That's literally the worst thing you could have in sales. And this motherfucker started making $40,000 a month in commission selling a fitness offer, doing outbound. So it's absolutely something that you can choose to do and you can become great at just by learning it properly.
100%. And sometimes like you need people like Anush to know that it's like it's something you can develop. Anybody can sell.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not telling all the Indians to start spamming me my fucking DMs. I'm going to be very, very clear. But it's possible. You can still make it. That Ayush is proof.
So let's say I am someone right now who I'm listening to this podcast and then I see you, I'm like, okay, I need to be where Andreas is in the past year, and I need to get to my first 10K a month as soon as possible. What is like the most simple thing for me to do right now? Like the one exact thing. Yeah.
Skills trump everything in the economy. If I talk about, and I'll go a little bit more broad and a little bit more general, that way anybody listening can get value from it. There are two ways to get rich. Number one, it's doing things that other people aren't willing to do. That's the people who, and I won't go too much into that because we're talking about the second one. That's the people who work 18 hours a day. That's the people who, you look at Elon Musk in interviews early in his career with reporters, back when he was working 21 hours a day, this motherfucker has his head hung over like he's about to fall asleep on the chair while they're asking him questions. Like, he's physically exhausted. People aren't willing to go that far. That's number one. Number two is learning skills that other people don't have, right? That's fundamentally it. Skills other people don't have. Now, the way you find things that other people do not have is you ask yourself, great, what are markets that are massive where people inside of those markets, it's not studied? As an example, look at AI. That industry is worth trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. How much is AI taught in school? Zero.
Oh.
In fact, if you try and use AI, they ban you. They send you to the fucking principal's office and tell you to fuck off and kick you out of school. Like, they say it's a bad thing. And so great, now we have an industry that's worth trillions of dollars where people don't know anything about it. Well, there's a massive delta between how much money is being made in it and how many people are inside of it. Which means on average, if you go into it, that pie, it's divided in less people. You get a bigger slice of it. If you look at mathematics, billions of people study mathematics. And so if you study that, you immediately have billions of people that are competition for you. So obviously you're not going to be able to beat them. The chance is way smaller. Look at sales. According to statistics, it depends obviously which study. Every 1 in 14 people in the United States that is employed is in sales. It's worth trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. How much is it taught in school? Zero.
Crazy.
And so there's a massive delta between how many people are in it that can learn it, right? And when I say in it, I don't mean people employed in that job. I mean people actually know the skill. Because 1 in every 14 people are in sales, the average income is like 50 fucking grand a year because they don't know what the fuck they're doing, right? And then you get this $1 trillion industry with almost nobody who's trained on how to do it. Well, that's a massive delta. So now if you go into it and you actually get trained, you make a fuck ton of money, right? And so with sales, it works the exact same way. So if you're inside of sales and you ask yourself, what skill do most people not have? What's the number one skill? Most people do not have a script that if I ask them right now, what's the 5th question on your script? Instantly, with no hesitation, they can give me an answer. Almost nobody has that. Almost nobody. And so the first step, if I was going into it, is great. Well, I need to develop the skill. Now, the first step of developing the skill is I need to write my script over and over and over again to be able to internalize it so it becomes like a part of me, and I don't hesitate. I don't need to think about it anymore, right? So that's step 1. I'd get as good as I can with the script. Then I would start working on my body language, right? On my communication, make the script actually sound good and help me get the answers. Then I would work on my verbal cues. And after I've done all 3 of those things, then I would start looking for offers. And that might take me a month to get good enough at those 3 skills until I'm so good that every offer wants to hire me. Because then when every offer wants to hire me, my second month, now I get a closing role. Now I start closing. Now I start making sales. And then by my 3rd month, I'm already established. I'm already in that company. I already have my calendar filled up. And then I can make 10K. That's why my first month in high ticket sales, I made 10K in commission. My first month. It's because I was running my agency before that point. So I'd learned the skill. And so as soon as I got into it, as soon as I got into an offer, I already had the skill. So all I had to do is take the calls and I made 10 grand.
So what does a good script look like?
Well, that's a bit of a broad question in the sense of I'm not one of the believers of like, I don't have this massive ego like, oh, you need to use my script or you're screwed. I don't have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think generally speaking, like, okay, a good script starts off with understanding why the person is there, right? Yeah. You need to create some kind of connection with them, etc. This does not mean the typical rapport in the sense of like, oh, what city are you calling from? Any of that bullshit. Don't do that, right? So that's number 1. You build some kind of connection. That's what we'd call the intent stage. Then the second stage is where you connect their current process to their problem. That's what we call logical certainty. Here's what I mean by connecting the process to the problem. If I'm selling a fitness offer and somebody has a current diet that they're using, right? Whatever the diet is, they could say, oh, I'm keto, I'm vegan, whatever gay shit they want to do, right? If you can get them to be like, this is the diet that I have, and then you help them understand that they're not losing any weight, if you as a prospect know this is what I'm doing and it's not working, what does that make you want to do with what you're doing?
Change.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
I want to fucking push it to the side. So that's step 2. Because that makes them now open to the rest of the conversation. Step 3 is we have to get the commitment by getting the emotion out of them. And so that's where we future pace them on, great, well, what happens if that problem goes away? What does your life actually look like? And we get them to visualize it. Oh, I would live here. I would go on vacation here with these people. My life would be fucking amazing. Then we go into the consequence, which is the other side of that. What happens if that problem continues and it doesn't get fixed? Because now they have to say, oh, well, if it doesn't get fixed, X, Y, Z happens. And that contrast between this is what happens if it gets fixed versus this is what happens if it don't get fixed, that contrast right there is what creates the urgency for them to be like, I need to make a change. Because I don't want this consequence and I really want this thing. And that's when we go into step 4, which is the pitch. And that's when you pitch them on the products, etc., and you connect it back with whatever issues they had, whatever problems they had, and whatever goals they had. And that's when they buy. That's like a general good script. Right now, the questions you can ask and stuff within that can change a little bit, but from a psychology perspective, that's the best approach.
So at the start, when you ask the questions kind of to get to know them, build the rapport, warm things up a bit, what exact questions do you ask people? What are the do's and don'ts for that? Like, what are the questions to never ask? What are the things to never do? And what are some of the questions that you ask and more of a general framework for that stage?
Yeah, I mean, questions not to ask. People will say shit like, I don't know, what did you like about what you saw or something from the ad? People will say shit like that. That's not that helpful. That's just a bad version of the question that we ask, right? People will ask shit like, oh, what city are you calling from? That's stupid. People will be like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do that are pretty fucking stupid. Like, there's a lot of things you can ask that are pretty bad. Yeah. And now in terms of what you should ask, I mean, I can even role play with you. You want me to pretend to be the salesperson? You be the prospect?
Bro, let's do it. Let's do it.
Cool. I'll show you the first part then. And you want to do a fitness offer, for example? I don't care. Any.
Okay, sounds good. Like, I'm selling you.
No,
Or you sell
I'll
me?
do the selling. I'll do the selling.
Oh, no.
I'll sell
Okay,
you.
perfect.
So I'll show you the beginning just so you understand like what questions to ask at the beginning to create that connection. And if you don't do the rest, we can do the rest as well. Pretend it's like a weight loss offer. So I'm calling you. You filled out some form on Facebook about losing weight, whatever it is, right? Hey, is this Samuel?
Yeah, it is. How's it going?
Yeah. What's up, buddy? It's just Andy here from like XYZ company, man. I was just looking here because I saw you filled out a form about, I think it was like possible help with like losing some weight, kind of get in better shape, all that jazz. Is that about right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm so fat right now. I'm like 300 pounds. I hate myself.
Well, just to see if I could help then, man, because I might be able to send you like a bit of a more specific training for you. What was the main intent behind, I guess, like even looking to possibly lose the weight? Like, is it more of, I guess, like the energy or just like feeling better, the confidence? Like, what for you?
Oh, mainly the confidence. Like, I can't stand looking at myself in the mirror.
And what have you seen that I guess makes you feel like maybe you lack some of that confidence besides just the mirror?
Like, the self-trust. I keep telling myself I'm, like, going to lose weight, and then I just don't. I keep eating, like, shit every day. And then I always say, like, tomorrow I'm going to do it, next day, and then I just don't.
Jesus, man, that could be trouble. Okay, pause. So at this point in the call, what have we already done? At the very beginning, I connected with them on a human level about what they already did, and I got you to think about some point in the past that made you feel like you had a problem. Because in psychology, every memory is connected to an emotion. So as soon as I ask you, what have you seen, meaning something in the past, now you have to think back to a negative memory, which once again creates that negative emotion in your brain. And so that makes you be like, holy shit, I need help. And so then you stick on the phone, and then later on is when I can actually build the gap and create more pain and then set you for an appointment.
That's really good. So getting people to kind of go back to a negative emotion.
Exactly. Because if you get a negative emotion onto them, now they have a reason to be speaking with you. The issue people make is at the beginning of a sales call, if they just think you're there as a salesperson, all they're thinking about is, holy shit, he's here to pitch me. What do people think of salespeople? What do people think about getting pitched? Nobody likes getting pitched.
Oh, no one likes it. Yeah, no.
Exactly. But if they're there to solve a problem that they have, that's a much higher level of intent.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
That makes sense. And then getting the problem out of them as soon as possible. So after that, you move on to the intent stage.
That is the intent stage. After that, I'd move on to the logical certainty stage.
The logical certainty stage. So let's role play that real quick.
Let's role play. So where do we leave off? You said, the lack of focus, etc. Okay, I'll be like, and what kind of like, I guess, diet or like fitness plan do you have in place now? Like it's like isn't allowing you to lose that weight.
Nothing right now. I'm actually not going to the gym.
You're not going to the gym? Well, what diet do you have then? Tell me that.
I mean, I really want to do a keto diet, but I keep falling off. Like I might stick to one day, and then something happens the next day.
Let's be realistic then. If you're not doing the keto diet full time, then we're probably not doing a keto diet. What do you genuinely eat? Let's say on like a general day. What do you typically eat? What's your diet?
McDonald's, burgers.
Oh, really? How long have you been doing that for? Like that diet?
I don't even know, man. Years.
If you thought about it. Years? What caused you, because I mean, I can tell like you do want to lose the weight and like I appreciate being so honest. What caused you to just like stick with like McDonald's?
I mean, me and my friends started going to McDonald's back in high school, and then I just got addicted. And I'm 30 now, just for the past like 13 years.
Really? So what shifted for you now then? I guess if you're already 30 and like you have that like diet, etc., that made you feel like, I actually want to like take my fitness more seriously and like lose the weight, rather than just, I guess, keep eating McDonald's and nothing changes.
I mean, I've always wanted to lose the weight, but it's gotten so bad.
What was that
I can barely
moment?
sit on an airplane now.
Like, what was that moment where I guess you realized like it got so bad?
Probably when we got kicked off my last airplane.
Really? And how long has that been the case for, I guess? Where you feel like you're not losing the weight and then you feel, I guess, like a bit of like that lack of confidence you mentioned earlier?
I've really been starting to feel it for like the past 3-4 years.
Jesus, man. I'm sorry to hear that. And I appreciate the honesty, by the way. And you, I guess, like not losing that weight to where like you don't have the confidence getting kicked off the airplanes, etc. How is that an impact, I guess, on like your day-to-day life, even outside of just like the health area? Like where else has that impacted?
I can't talk to girls. Like I can't speak up for myself.
Perfect.
I feel like no one respects me.
That's the end of logical certainty right there. So now at this point, what have I done? I've gone you to say your diet is McDonald's and this and that, and I've now connected it with, because of that, I don't have confidence, get kicked out of airplanes, can't talk to girls, this and that. And so now I've connected the two. So subconsciously, psychologically, now you as a prospect, you're going, well, I don't want to do that shit anymore. I need to push that away. And that's what makes you open to something else. And so now if I was a setter, then that's where I'd set the appointment. Because now in your mind, you're thinking as a prospect, well, I can't do this anymore. I need something new. And so what is my transition? It's offering you something new.
Yeah, and now it's like the conversation just isn't about weight loss. It's not like I'm on the call with you trying to lose weight. It's like I'm on the call with you to try and like become more confident and like talk to girls and like respect myself more. So it becomes so much more emotional. And then I think that like subconsciously it attaches so much more value to the program because it's no longer some like commodity fitness program. Like this program is like my blueprint to becoming a better man, like being respected, like whatever.
Absolutely.
What do people usually get wrong in that stage?
In logical certainty?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest issue is, and it sounds counterintuitive,
Right.
they try and get too much pain. So there's a very careful balance where if you get not enough pain, people don't feel like they need to make a change. They don't even want to book the call. If you get too much pain, they feel completely defeated until they're like, I can't show up to the sales call because if I show up, I already know like I have to buy it. Like I'm just too defeated. Like everything's wrong. And so there's a good middle ground where you don't want to get too much pain and too much emotion. You also don't want to get not enough to where they don't need to change. That's probably the most common mistake I'd see.
Right. And also I find, so like this practice sales call was a bit different. And I find personally for me, it's like, I definitely have an easier time like opening up to people and talking about stuff like that. And then it's like, you're going to have the prospects like that who are like, yeah, it's because of this, this, and this. Like, this is like triggering all these emotions. I hate it. But then you're also going to have the customers that are more cold. They're just like, okay, fuck off. Like, stop talking to me. Yeah. So what specifically does somebody have to do with one of those customers who just wants you to like leave the call, and you can totally feel that, to get them to open up more?
So what you have to understand is, why is an A-type aggressive against you? Why are they mean to you? Well, fundamentally, it's because they assume that they are above you. They think they have more status, they deserve more respect than you, therefore they don't respect you.
Right.
And so the only way to beat that is to make them feel like you are higher status than they are. That's the only way. And it does not have to be in terms of your whole life. For example, if you're a sales rep and you're speaking to a 9-figure entrepreneur, you're not going to make them believe that you're a higher person than they are. But you can make them think that you're a higher person than they are in terms of marketing, if that's what you're selling them help with. You can do that. Totally. And so that's how you gain their respect. And so, for example, if I'm speaking to a CEO, let's say, right? And he goes, dude, we're doing amazing. We're doing $1 million a month. I'll be like, $1 million a week, man. Jesus, that's amazing. $4 million a month? And now what does he have to do? He has to correct me. No, $1 million a month. And I'll go, oh, not a problem, man. Like, we all start somewhere. I guess just so I understand, what in specific? And then I go right into my next question. And you'll just watch them deflate. The second you do that, why though? Because when you say, oh, $1 million a week, man, that's $4 million a month. Jesus, that's really good. What does he assume? That you're typically working with clients or people who are doing about $4 million a month. And so if he's only doing $1 million a month, that puts him now below you. You're used to working with people higher status than him. So that puts him now below you. And so then they deflate and they start actually respecting you. That's an example. You can do that a couple of different ways. If I'm selling fitness and somebody's like, oh man, I'm doing really good. I'm losing 3 pounds a month. Only 3 pounds? Why so low? Oh, well, I didn't think it was low. And now they assume that you're higher status than them. Because again, now they're assuming, holy shit, your clients are typically losing a lot more than 3 pounds a month. And so that puts them below you in terms of status. So now they have to respect you again.
That's so interesting because it's like such a tiny change in your sales calls that it completely changes the entire dynamic.
Absolutely. And that's why it's really interesting, because people are like, oh, this guy was just A-type. This guy just wasn't respectful. Well, that same person, when he's speaking to one of his buddies, which is also a 9-figure CEO or entrepreneur, he's the most respectful person in the entire world. And so it's not that he's not a respectful person or that, oh, he's just a dick. No, he's just a dick to you because he just thinks you're a little piece of shit. Like, he thinks you're an inconvenience. And so that's what you have to fix in order to make him respect you.
That's very true. That's very true. And then something else that you say, what is that it's more important to be respected than liked in sales. Can you go deeper into that?
Yeah, well, a lot of people try and be liked, but like, I'll give you an example. Do you have somebody that you know in your life that maybe you enjoy spending time with him? Maybe you'd go out to get a burger with him or, I don't know, hang out, but you wouldn't necessarily tell him the deepest, darkest secrets about you or your business or your life? Do you have something like that?
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Do you like that person?
Yes.
But you don't respect him enough in that specific thing that you have your deep, dark secrets in. You don't respect him enough in that sense to tell him those things that are more secretive to you. It works the exact same way with prospects. I have plenty of people who I'll sell them and they go, dude, I don't like you, but I know I have to do this. I'm going to do it. Fine. And they buy. And they come back to me 6 months later when they got the results and they're like, holy shit, dude, you changed my mentality. Everything was amazing. Thank you so much. I'm your biggest fucking fan. because it's not about being liked. It's about being respected. And so the way to gain respect is by being honest and being truthful. And when you're honest and you're truthful with somebody and you call it out for what it is and you point out their pain, they're probably not going to like you very much because people associate a lot of pain with pain. And so if you are creating that pain inside of them, they associate pain with you. You are the pain. And so now they don't want to speak to you. They don't like you, but they respect you. That's the difference. And so that's why I don't need to have people like me. I need people who respect me. That's the difference. And that's what you need to do on sales calls as well.
So the next stage of the sales process after the past stage, now is it future pacing, getting to their goals, or digging into their pains a bit more?
It's emotional certainty. And in emotional certainty, there's 3 steps. Number 1 is pre-handling. Number 2, which that's a bit of like identity shifting there as well. Number 2, it's the future pacing. And then number 3, it's the consequence. That's the emotional certainty stage.
So what exactly do you do in the first part, the pre-handling?
So the pre-handling, the simplest way, it starts with what we call the rationale, right? And the rationale is like basically pre-handling the I'm going to do it myself objection. So if I'm selling a biz up, let's say I'm convincing somebody to get into trading and buy a trading program, then I'll go like, well, just so I understand like kind of your point of view, man, what's the reasoning of even looking for like, I guess like more advanced trading with your trading? That way you can actually like make more money online rather than just, I don't know, like doing the free shit, looking at YouTube videos, trying to learn it yourself. Like, why don't you do that? And now they have to justify to me why they can't do that. And so now they need to explain to me, oh, because I know if I have a mentor or I have a coach, I'm going to learn it faster, or I'm going to learn it better or more accurately. So now they're justifying to me why they need to invest into somebody. So that's step 1. That's the first part of the pre-handling. Step 2 is we broaden up the pre-handling. So how do we broaden up? We just ask, well, before you and I were speaking, man, were you, I guess, out there looking for like other ways to, I guess, like get more of like that advanced trading so you could actually like make more money online, get good at trading, or like what were you actually doing about that? And so right there, what are the 2 answers they can give us to that question?
Either, I was doing it and it didn't work out, or like, no, I wasn't, and I'm like coming to you for X reason.
Yeah, not even that far. It's really just yes or no.
Right.
That's it. And if they say, no, I wasn't looking, then I can just go, why not, Matt? What prevented you? And now what do they give me? Whatever they give me is the objection that they had in the past to what prevented them. So whatever objection they had for the past 3 years that stopped them from getting the advanced training, guess what objection they're going to give me at that? Well, the fucking same.
Right. Yeah.
So I better handle it right there. And so then that's how I get it out. I go, why not? What prevented you? And if they say, oh, well, the time, and I shouldn't have the time, then this is how you handle it. It's a very cheeky question. It works super well. You just go, so what shifted for you now then? That I guess has you looking for like more of like that advanced training, like if the time kind of prevented you in the past. And they go, oh man, well, the time prevented me in the past, but like now I don't work as many hours in my job, and so now I have more time to be able to learn. So they've just justified why the time objection does not exist anymore. So now that's removed, right? That's option 1. If when I ask them, were you looking or what were you doing about that? If they say, yes, I was looking, then my next question is, okay, did you actually like move forward with something, or like what actually happened? Again, there are 2 answers they can give me. What are they? Yes or no? That's it. If they say no right there, no, I didn't move forward with anything, what do I ask? Well, why not? What prevented you? Because whatever objection they gave the last guys that they spoke to on a sales call is going to be the same objection they're going to give me this time on that sales call. And so it's the same thing. And so if they say, oh, well, I mean, it was just too expensive last time, whatever it is, then again, that's where I handle it, right? And then I get rid of that before I get to the pitch. And then the last option is if they say, yes, I was looking, and then you ask, and did you actually move forward? And they say, yes, I did move forward. Then do they get a good result or a bad result? The reason that's so important, if they got a bad result last time, right? If last time they moved forward with something and they didn't get a good result, what is going to be their fear this time? That they don't get a good result again. Exactly. So it's a value objection. So then I go into what's called ideal criteria. And I ask them, so what would you have to see in something this time? I guess to be able to be like, oh, like I actually feel like it's going to work for me, even though last time we kind of didn't get the result. And then they tell you, oh, well, I would need better communication. I would need a better coach. I would need more one-on-one time. Whatever they tell me. And whatever they say right there, I just plug that into the pitch later on. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
That's literally the entire pre-handling framework in like 5 minutes.
So what do we go to after the pre-handling?
After, then you go into future pacing.
Okay. And then how do you do that? Like, what's the first question you ask for future pacing?
Yeah, so the first question is, well, and usually you're going to do a pre-frame as well. So we call this the Usain Bolt analogy. And that's where you go like, well, can I make a suggestion? And they always go, oh yeah, of course you can make a suggestion. And you go, I think about a lot kind of like Usain Bolt, right? Like if you took Usain Bolt, obviously fastest runner of all time, blah, 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 and you put him on a starting line and you tell him to run a 100-meter dash, that motherfucker going to run fast. Now you stick a lion behind him chasing him, he's running even faster. Because
Yeah.
the most successful people in the world, they have both. They have this strong pull of like, this is what I want to achieve, this is what I want to do, but they also have a strong enough consequence to failure to give them the drive and the motivation to actually achieve it. So I guess for you, for example, Matt, and then I go into the question, right? Why do we do that? And I'll break this down from a psychological perspective. Whenever you use that frame, that analogy, the reason people don't open up with you and don't get emotional with you later in the call is because they think being emotional or opening up is a bad thing. Because if they thought it was a good thing to open up with you, they would open up every single time.
Yeah.
But when I say that, the most successful people have this drive and this lion. Now, in order for them to think that they're the most successful person, what do they have to do? They have to tell me the drive and the lion. So now I've pre-framed them perfectly. And so then that's when I go into the future pace. And then I ask, so like, let's imagine, man, like 6 months from now, a year from now, we were actually able to help you get rid of XYZ problem. What would actually be, I guess, like different for you, like in your day-to-day life? And then they got to go, oh, well, I don't know. I would lose weight. I'd be in better shape. I would be able to play sports with my kids again. I would have more energy. I'd be more productive at work, right? Whatever they tell me. And then the key is after they give me that, I have to probe into it to make them visualize it and imagine it. Because as soon as they visualize it, now it's real. That creates more emotion. So as an example, if they say, oh, well, I'd be more productive at work. Well, like more productive in what? Like, are you doing like a project or like what exactly? And they say, oh yeah, man, like I have this one project. If I do really well in it, I'll get a promotion. Oh, what would you get promoted to? Oh, well, blah, blah. Okay, do you have like a higher salary in that promotion? Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I'd make 30 grand a year extra. All I'm doing is I'm getting them to visualize the scenario if they actually fix their fitness in this specific example. Because when they create this image, again, the brain cannot tell the difference between a truth and a lie in terms of the chemicals that are released in the brain from a psychological and neuroscience perspective. And so once I'm able to future pace this and get them to visualize it, that creates this massive positive emotion. And right at the peak, when they're at the very top, right? Like when they're at the top about to bust or whatever, then that's when you go into the consequence at the very bottom. That's the simplest way. Because now you're contrasting this massive future pace of everything they want to achieve with what happens if they fail and they don't achieve any of it. And so that change is such a big change that they're like, holy shit, I can't let that happen. And so the next step after that is then the consequence.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the consequence, I found that was so interesting, what you said about the brain can't tell the difference between a truth and a lie. Go into that one a little bit more.
Well, there's a thing called self-hypnosis, like language has meaning.
Right.
I'll give you an example. If I tell somebody, I like you, or I go, I love you, like it produces a very different reaction. And the interesting thing, it's not just a different reaction the person I'm saying it to. Like you tell that to a girl, oh, I love you. She fucking falls in love and does anything for you. But regardless, like that's what happens if you say that to that person for them.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is it doesn't just create a reaction in them. It also creates a reaction in yourself. If you say, I like you to somebody versus if you say, I love you to somebody, your brain produces a different reaction. Like you feel something as well. And so language has meaning. Words aren't just words. Words change what you believe and how you think. And then in basis of that, how you act as well. And so that's why whenever you're saying things out loud, you could say, I love you to somebody that you don't truly love, and you'll still feel the emotions as if you actually love them to a degree because words have meaning. And so that's what I mean when I say, like, if you say something out loud, if you tell somebody and you get them to say this future pace of this dream scenario of how their life would be different and all their dreams being accomplished and everything, even though it hasn't happened yet, all those words they're saying carry meaning and they carry power. So it's going to produce this massive positive response in their brain.
That's so interesting. And I'm sure we'll get into that a lot more after we cover like the exact sales process. Like I love talking about the psychology stuff. So in the next part, the consequence section, what's the first thing that you start off with there?
Yeah, so first of all, we want to bring back up the Usain Bolt analogy just to bring it top of mind. So we go, okay, man, so that makes a lot of sense. Like now we have obviously this pull of like what you want to achieve, what you want to do. But now what we have to understand is like, what is that lion, that consequence to failure? Because again, that's what gives the most successful people in the world that ultimate drive to really succeed. And that's what I want for you.
Yeah.
So for example, for you, like on the flip side, what actually happens if we continue on the same trajectory with XYZ problem and we're not able to achieve XYZ for the next 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, even 2 years, man? Like what actually happens then? And now once we ask that question, again, we're going to get these answers of like, oh, well, I mean, I would just get more overweight. I would just have even less energy. And then we have to start making them visualize it. Again, it works positive and it works negative. So we have to probe into it. So if they say, oh, well, I'd have even less energy. And what do you think that might prevent you from being able to do? Well, I mean, man, like I wouldn't be able to play sports with my kids anymore. What sports do you play with them? Well, I play soccer. I play basketball. Oh, do you have like a field nearby or like, well, where do you play with them? Oh, yeah, I have this field like next to our house, whatever, and I wouldn't be able to play with them. Again, all you're doing, you're making them visualize this scenario, this reality, if they don't fix the problem to, again, just create that urgency. So that works the exact same way as with the future pace.
Right, and that's so important because it's like our minds naturally, we naturally care more about avoiding loss than we do about gaining something.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So what do we move on to after that? Is that the offer, or is there still another stage before?
That's when we go into the pitch, and then there's a little transition before you go into the pitch. And so the transition is usually like you have to get them to commit to changing. So what I mean by that, at this point in the call, now they have all of this goal of like, this is what I want to achieve, all this consequence. If I don't achieve it, I need to do this. I need to figure out something. So they have all this motivation. Now we need to channel this motivation towards something, towards a change.
Okay.
And so that's when they've just given us all this consequence. Oh, if I don't succeed, if I don't achieve this, I'm going to have all these issues, this and this and that. And then you ask, and this was something an obvious question, man, but like, are you willing to settle for that? And they go, no, obviously I'm not willing to settle for that. Well, why not though, man? Because like, I mean, you can, like you have been. Like, why actually draw that line in the sand and be like, no, like I need to make a change. And now they're going to have to justify to you why now they need to make a change. So we're preempting the whole time objection. Oh, I'll do it in the future, this and this and that, right? So that's key. Then after that, then we go, okay, and whose responsibility is it though? To actually like put you in a position to be able to lose the weight and everything else. And then they have to go, oh, well, it's my responsibility. So now we've tied down everything else. Here, one more spray. Kill that motherfucker. Okay, he's dead. So after that, now we've done this commitment to change. And then that's when now we go into the actual pitch. And so the transition to get into the pitch is we go, okay, man, so like based on everything I've heard, I feel like what we're doing for sure could help you because you mentioned like you're not really able to lose the weight because of the diet. And so then we don't have as much energy. We're not really able to play the sports with our kids and all that. And obviously now you're going to like lose these 50 pounds. So what we could do from here is we could kind of build a game plan together of like how to actually put you in a position to be able to lose that weight and not just lose it once, but keep it off. Would that be helpful for you? Or like, where would you like to go from here? And they say, oh yes, that'd be very helpful. And then that's when we go into the actual pitch presentation.
Okay. And then how do we do the pitch? Or no. So I think a better question, what common mistakes do people usually make on the pitch? Or what are some of the biggest mistakes that either you made in the past or you always see people see?
The biggest mistake everybody always makes is they make the pitch super long and super technical. So they add all these statistics. 30% of people 100%. Do this. 20% of people lose all this weight and now they can see their balls and this and this. Like nobody gives a fuck. It makes no difference. Yeah. And so all it has to do is you just do a really short pitch. We do 3 pillars, short pitch, the main 3 things about whatever you're selling, and you have to connect it and tie it back to whatever problems they had and their goals and their consequences and everything else.
Okay. Right. So what's the correct way to do the pitch?
Great question. So again, 3 pillars. The structure for each pillar is you go, so pillar 1, man, is really going to be like the coaching, the accountability, because like, how you mentioned earlier. So that's a framework. Pillar 1 is X because how you mention XYZ problem. So what we do is, and then a short description. So with that example, so pillar 1, man, is really going to be the coaching, the accountability, because like, you mentioned earlier, like, you've been kind of yo-yoing in terms of like your weight, like you lose some, then you gain it back. And so because of that, you always kind of feel lower energy. And so you're not really able to like play those sports. And so the whole point of the accountability is making sure that like you don't just lose it once, but you're able to keep it off forever. And we put in place some kind of procedure that's actually going to work for you to make sure you don't gain it back. Do you feel like that'd be helpful? And they have to go, yes. And so again, that's the structure. Pillar 1 is XYZ because how you mentioned blah, 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 blah. So what we do is, and then a short description of how that helps them specifically.
Okay. That's really good. So then what's the next part after that?
Then after that, you do price drop. So the price drop is usually like, you go through all the pillars, then you'll go, so based of everything we've covered, man, like, do you actually feel like this will get you to that goal of like losing the 50 pounds? Like being able to play sports with your kids and everything again? They say yes. Then you go, okay, like out of curiosity, what's like the key to the castle for you that makes you feel like it would actually help you the most with like losing those 50 pounds? Oh, well, I feel like the coaching, the accountability would be really helpful. Why that in particular? Like, how do you feel like that's going to help you specifically? Oh, well, I think I'd be able to lose the weight and I'd be able to keep it off. Hey, fantastic. So in base of everything we've covered, the total investment in order to actually put you in a position to lose those 50 pounds and then like be able to play sports with your kids and everything again is going to be 10 grand. How would you like to proceed? And then that's the price drop, and you wait for them to say yes or no, and then you go into objection.
So you ask them, how do you like to proceed? Why ask that question? Why just ask, oh, would that work for you? Or how does that price sound?
I don't know. I think it's very like, if I ask like, how does that price sound?
That's
almost like I'm asking them for an objection.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. So why would someone want to go with how do you want to proceed instead of any of those other questions? Like, what exactly about that question makes it good?
I mean, there are a couple different questions you can ask. Like, I don't think that's the main thing. That's just how I like to word it myself.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, there's a couple different things you can ask. Like, there's no special sauce to that question necessarily. Like, that one's, you can just kind of ask whatever you want. Maybe don't say like, oh, how does that price sound or anything about the price? Because
no. I was totally joking about that.
Yeah, so like probably don't bring up the price or anything because that'll induce an objection. But in terms of like ask them, how do you like to proceed? How would you like to move forward? What do you want to do? Any of those are fine. That's not like a massive deal breaker.
Okay, so let's say after that, someone's like, oh, I got to think about it. I got to talk to my wife. So how do you handle those objections?
Okay, so step one is if it's a smoke screen, meaning let me think about it, I'll get back to you, blah, blah, blah. You have to uncover what the real objection is. So you just go, no problem, man. What's behind that? Like, what are you actually wanting to like go over in your head, like in the next days, just to see if I can help? And now they're going to tell us, oh man, well, like it's just a big investment. Oh, well, I just need to be my partner. Oh, well, it's just a big time commitment, whatever it is, right? And then from there, whatever they gave us, that's what we now handle. So now let's get into the actual objection. First step to handling any objection, you're always going to default to money logistical. This is where people fuck up. Somebody gives you a partner objection, a time objection. Does not matter. You're always going to assume it's money and you go after that. Why do we do that? Because if somebody says, I need to speak to my partner, well, if the thing was free, would they still need to speak to their partner? No. So you always want to remove money as soon as possible out of the equation. Then if they still give you a partner objection after that, then you handle it. But you always want to remove money first. So no matter the objection, you just go, okay, not a problem, man. Money aside for a second, like, would you actually do it? Like, do you feel like it's really going to put you in a position to like lose those 50 pounds, get in better shape, all that jazz? And now they say yes, no, whatever. Almost always is going to say yes because they already said that earlier right after the pitch, right? So they're going to say yes. And you go, and why though? Oh, because I feel like with the coaching, the accountability, the course, everything else, I really feel like it's going to help me. Yeah, because you having the coaching, the accountability, the course, what do you feel like that would do for you, like more specifically? Oh, well, I think it'd be super helpful with this, and I'd be able to play sports and this and that, whatever, and they start justifying. That's step one. Now the value objection is out of the way. That's what we just did. There's no value objection anymore. Then we go, okay, so is it just that initial investment, man, of like the 10 grand, or like if we could split that up into more adjustable payments, would it make it a bit easier for you, like financially? Almost always they're going to say yes. Then you go, so cash on hand then, bills and expenses aside, what do you have saved up? Because this is where you figure out, if they only have 5 grand, for example, they can't do the 10 grand. So then that's where you offer them the payment plan. And you go, okay, we can split it up 2 payments of 5 grand, this and this and that. Would that work within budgetary constraints, right? So whatever number they give you, you build them a payment plan, or you take them through financing, right? If they have a good credit score. And then you go, with everything we've covered, would that work within budgetary constraints, fear and emotion aside? So I'm not asking them, do you want to do it? I'm asking them, would that work within the money that you have, logically? And then once they say yes, then I go, so with the understanding that it works within budgetary constraints, and you feel like this would put you in a position to lose the 50 pounds and play sports with your kids again and all that jazz, how would you like to proceed? That's step one. So now money is out of the way. They cannot give us a money objection after this because they already agreed the money works for them. They already agreed the value is there. So they cannot do either one anymore.
Yeah.
From there, they either directly buy or they give us another objection. Now, the only objections they can give us is either fear or logistics. Logistics would be either partner or time after that point, right? And I mean, if they own a partner or time, you obviously handle those, and then they either buy or they're going to give you fear again, and then you handle fear after.
For sure. So something you said that I loved was that you were talking about how you speak about the logistics first. Like, do you have this money in your account? Do payment plans work? How's your credit score? All that stuff before trying to ask for the sale. So that was such a great point that you made there. Okay.
Absolutely.
In terms of the script, the first fundamental, what should someone's daily routine look like, or what should somebody be doing every single day to practice that script and like get as good as that as possible in like the first month?
Number one is writing it. Writing by far is the best way to internalize or memorize anything that has been known by human psychologists for as long as we can remember. The step one is writing it every single day on a notebook with pen and paper. That's simple, right? Now, one thing I'd recommend as well to take this to the next level is if you don't have an offer yet and you're trying to learn from zero, write the script as if you were selling in a couple of different industries. The three I always recommend: BizOp, fitness, and business coaching. Because the thing is, and this is where it's really interesting, most people don't get good with the script because they only know how to use it in one industry, meaning they don't really know how it works. Human brains think in patterns. That's what IQ is. For example, IQ, the number one determining factor in IQ is your ability to recognize patterns. That's really what it is. It's pattern recognition. If you think about it this way, if you're trying to memorize a string of words or numbers. Let's say that the words are, I don't know, giraffe, boat, sea. If I try to remember giraffe, boat, sea, giraffe, boat, sea, giraffe, boat, sea, obviously it's easy because it's 3 words. But if I have 20 words now, I can't remember that. However, if I create a story in my head, it makes it really easy. A giraffe went inside of a boat and then he went into the sea. Now my brain creates patterns. It connects, it links all those words together, which makes it really easy for me to memorize and remember. That's the key. And so that's what you need to do with the script as well. If you only know how to use it in a single industry, then all you're memorizing is just these little words. And so as soon as it doesn't go your way, you're screwed. But if you know how to do it in a couple of different industries, now you start to recognize the patterns between the answers you get in different industries, which allows you to understand how the question actually works fundamentally, which is much more powerful.
Right. Okay, so for the next thing, the vocal cues, the verbal cues, what exactly should I be doing each day to practice those? And like, what are the most important verbal cues for me to practice and master?
Great question. So what are verbal cues, first of all? I'll cover that in case people don't know what it is.
For sure.
Verbal cues is as somebody is speaking to you, a prospect, when you're going, yeah, really, right, okay, Those are verbal cues. Yeah. Why are they so powerful? It's because of a concept in psychology called mirroring. If you go to a cafe or a bar, right? Most likely a bar. But if you're like a minor, then a cafe. Or if you're not in Puerto Rico and you're in the fucking US. But regardless, side story. If you see a couple on a first date, at the very beginning, you'll notice they're very, very awkward. So like they're not really in sync. One person says something, they're kind of like all over the place. After they finally get into rapport and they get in sync, hopefully, unless it doesn't happen, and then he has some work to do. But if that's what happens, you'll notice they start mirroring each other. For example, he'll start gesturing more with his hands as he gets more passionate into a story or whatever. And she'll start responding more using her hands. He starts tapping his foot. She starts tapping her foot. Like they start syncing to each other and mirroring each other. This is a basic principle in human psychology because humans are like sheep, right? That same concept applies in a sales call. If somebody's speaking really slow and I start going, yeah, really, right, interesting. Quickly, what does that make them do? They mirror my speed. So they start talking faster. If they're speaking too fast and then I go, yeah, really, interesting. That's going to make them slow down because they're going to mirror my speed, right? And so that's why verbal cueing is so powerful. The other thing it can be used for, besides just the speed that the prospect is speaking at, is to manipulate the emotions you create in people. Think of emotions like waves in physics. If you study waves in physics, if you have 2 waves of the same length hit each other, what happens? It doubles in size. If you have waves of different frequencies hit each other, what happens? They cancel each other out. It works the exact same way. So if you're future pacing somebody, and they are super happy and they're on top of the world and, oh, my life would be fucking heaven. And you're like, yeah, really? Okay. You're on different frequencies, so you're going to cancel out their emotion. But if you start matching them, meaning your verbal cues are also happy, like, yeah, really? That's amazing, man. Super cool. That's going to make them feel even more emotion because you're on the same wavelength, so their wave doubles. That's really how it works. And so the way that you create that happiness in your verbal cues is by adding an upward inflection to the end of every verbal cue. It's like, yeah, really? Super cool, man. That's amazing. Upward inflection at the end of every verbal cue. On the other side, if I want to create more negative emotion, I inverse it. So I go, really? I'm sorry to hear that, man. Like it goes down. And that's going to make him feel more negative emotion. So you can use verbal cues to manipulate somebody's emotions and also to manipulate the speed at which they speak. That's why it's so powerful.
Totally. And I think like those are one of those sales skills that it applies in pretty much every single other social situation. It's pretty like that one small thing is such a life skill. And I think another thing like that is like analogies. And those are probably one of the most underrated skills that you can have, not just like in sales, but in life and like any social interaction.
Absolutely. And I'll go back to your question for a second. You asked, well, how can you learn verbal cues?
Yeah.
Well, the best way is by practicing it. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to practice in sales, etc. No, the best way to practice it is actually just whenever you're having a conversation with somebody in day-to-day life, like you were saying a second ago, you're in Uber, you're talking to your family, whatever, you just start using verbal cues.
Yeah.
And you'll get really used to using them, and then that's how you get really, really good at it. So the best way to learn them and the best way to practice them is literally just by using it in day-to-day conversation.
That's such a good point. So true. And then you can be so good at them so quickly because you speak to like, I don't know, like 10, 20, 100 people a day. Like speaking to the barista at the cafe, some random person standing beside you. And then like you can just make progress like this.
Exactly. And it makes people feel heard too. Like if while they're talking, you're going, really, that's super interesting. Like it makes them feel understood and heard. They start liking you more as well.
Totally. So another thing I want to tap into is analogies. And how did you learn to get good at those?
I mean, it's really interesting because I think some of the most important analogies are the ones that you come up with on your own from your day-to-day life experience.
Yeah.
Those are some of the best ones. And the reason analogies work so well is because if you think about it, if I have a prospect who is a multimillionaire and I'm selling a fitness offer, but he's fat as shit. He's about to go into my 600 fucking pound life, that show or whatever. Fat as shit, but he's really good in business. That person fundamentally has a flawed decision-making process around fitness, right? Whether it's not being able to commit to things, not having discipline. However, he has a good decision-making process in his finances, in his business. Because I promise you, in order to become a multi-millionaire and super successful, you need to have discipline, you need to have accountability, and all these other things. And so if I try and reframe him or ask him questions about his fitness, he's never going to buy it because his decision-making process is incorrect. But if I use analogies from the business world and I transfer them into fitness, now he'll understand it. Because I'm taking things that he already agrees with in a different part of his life that has made him successful in business or finance or sales or whatever it is, and I'm having him apply those same principles to sales or to fitness in this example. So now he's actually going to understand it. And that's the beauty of analogies. It takes them out of their current situation and it lets them understand a mindset or a perspective shift or whatever it might be from some other aspect of their life. That way they can then implement it into whatever aspect is flawed. That's the beauty of it.
For sure. So how does someone get good at those?
I think the best part about analogies is the fact that it's almost like a script in the sense of you can do it the exact same way every time. Usain Bolt analogy as an example. I do it the exact same every time. Like that way that I did it in that script, inside of the Impact Team Discord and the group and all that stuff, with all my script, it's word for word. The exact same. You can look at it word for word. So the beauty about analogies is you have a couple that you start realizing in your own life, a couple that you come up with, a couple that one day you're out for dinner and somebody says something, you're like, holy shit, that makes a lot of sense. And then you start using it. For example, I heard the Einstein one, right? Of like Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I was like, well, that's a great fucking reframe, right? Because if somebody's talking about their decision-making process or they're like, oh, well, I just need time to make decisions. Then I can go like, is that usually how you make decisions? Like needing time? And they say yes. And it's like, well, would you agree? I guess like the way we make decisions kind of shapes the results we get in life. They say yes. And I go, okay, so like, are you happy with the results you've got in life? They say no. Well, why not? Oh, because my life is shit, this and this and that. Again, it's kind of like what Einstein said, like doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is what? And then everybody knows, oh, well, it's insanity. And so like you get these analogies and these reframes from things you hear and things you experience. And then the best ones, you script it out on a piece of paper. Again, the best way to internalize anything is by writing it down. So you write it over and over and over again every single day until that reframe is internalized inside of your head. And then you can pull it out at any time whenever you need to. And you don't want to have 15, 20 reframes because you're not going to be able to perfect all of those. You should have 5, maybe 6 that you have internalized that you can whip out in your sleep if somebody woke you up with a bucket of fucking ice water. Like that's the level of internalization you need. And so I think that's the best way for analogies is like things happen to you, you see someone online, you hear somebody say something, and then whichever ones stick with you that you feel apply the most to you, you write them out. And those are the ones you use.
Right. So the next thing that you were talking about is body language. So I want to dive into that a lot more because I think like verbal cues, that's not just a skill for sales, but a skill for any aspect of life. So how did you originally get good at body language?
It was understanding that there are certain patterns every human has to create certain tones inside of them or certain reactions out of people. For example, if you want to be curious, this is a universal thing. This is not just for me. If you tilt your head and squint your eyes, you sound more curious. If I look at you and I say, what do you mean? What do you mean? That's way more curious. What do you mean? I tilt my head and squint my eyes. That's why I look curious. If I want to sound skeptical of somebody, if I lean back and scrunch my eyebrows, I sound skeptical. If I say, what do you mean? What do you mean? That's skeptical. So there's certain things and patterns in body language that every person uses universally to create certain tonalities. And it's very simple. It's not complicated. And so if you learn the core 4 tonalities in the body language that's required for every single one of them, you're naturally going to be way better like that.
For sure.
And so that's how I started learning it. And yeah, I mean, it's very simple. Like I teach it to new people in like 5 minutes. It's not difficult. Then you got to practice it and exaggerate and everything else. But
yeah. What are the core 4 tonalities?
Great. Body language masterclass. Let's do it. Step 1, you have the casual confident tone. Easiest way to do this. This is going back to human psychology from thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. If you have your vital organs exposed, meaning your chest, your intestines, blah, blah, that shows you're confident because it signals to everybody else, I'm not scared of anybody around me. I don't see any threat. Therefore, I can be exposed. And if you don't see any threat, it has to be because you're better than everybody else. That's the subconscious signal from thousands and thousands of years ago, right? That's number one. So if you want to sound very confident and very casual, shoulders back, vital organs exposed, you gesture with your hands. This is very confident, this is very casual. That's number one. That's the first tonality. Second tonality, curiosity. As simple as tilt your head, squint your eyes. That's it. What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean? Literally, that's it. It's that simple. People will be able to hear it through the phone as well because it's very hard to do the exact body language of a certain tonality and not sound like you have that tonality. That's almost impossible.
For sure.
That's number two, curious tone. Number three, skeptical tone. Lean back, scrunch your eyebrows. What do you mean? What do you mean? Lean back, scrunch your eyebrows. That's really it. That's simple. That's number three, skeptical tone. Number four, empathetic / concerned. This is where you lean in and raise your eyebrows. What do you mean? What do you mean? That's the difference. Don't open your eyes. You're opening like a fucking, like a fly. You don't want to open your eyes. Just raise your eyebrows. That's it. So you just go, what do you mean? It's concerned / empathetic. Those are the only 4 tones you need to know. Now, because again, I said masterclass, so I'll go like an extra minute here. What people fuck up is when they're trying to learn it, it's unnatural or unconfident for them. So if they're trying to be curious, they'll be like, what do you mean? Like, motherfucker, this is a 2-degree angle. Like, you gotta turn it. You know, like you gotta go all the way. And so you, on purpose, just like I was saying earlier with the introvert / extroverted thing, it works the exact same way. You exaggerate your tone all the way, tilt your head a 45 fucking degree angle. I don't care, right? You go all the way, and then you start correcting, and then you find your good middle ground. Before, again, I'm naturally introverted. I didn't used to be this expressive and tilting my head and moving back and doing like a fucking Pilates class every time I have a podcast. Like that didn't used to be me, but I overcorrected on purpose. I exaggerated, went way too far. And then I was like, okay, this is too far. I need to pull it back a level. And so then I pulled it back and now we found a good middle ground. So that's what everybody needs to do as well. When you're trying to learn the tone, if you're not good at curiosity, for example, tilt your head, squint your eyes, exaggerate it all the way more than you have to until it sounds super unnatural. Look at a recording of yourself and then turn it back until it just looks like mine. Because I'm the fucking best at it, obviously.
Yep, exactly. So those were the three fundamentals for getting good at sales was the script, the vocal cues, and then the body language. So after this, after somebody who has, let's say, spent a month becoming the fucking best at all those 3 things, now let's say there's a gun to their head that and someone's saying, you need to find an offer within the next week. How would you do that?
This is like a 3-hour course. We have to promote the fuck out of this because this shit's going to be good.
Yeah, but
it's like a fucking course.
We do, man. Should be paying for this.
So to get an offer, the way I did it, I was about to share my screen and show the exact emails that I sent, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to leak info and shit. But regardless, the easiest way... yeah, we'll put a payment link in the description. No, I'm just kidding. But so the easiest way is emails, in my opinion, right? Now, here's a strat. You find companies that are massive, that want to grow, that are very expressive, whatever, post a lot of content online, whatever it is, that you know that are doing a lot of revenue. Right. You find every email you can from within that company. Here are a couple easiest way to find the emails. You go to their website. Most of them have an About Us or Meet the Team section. Great. All the emails right there. Even if they don't say the email, if you just see their name is Abby, and you know the company is Mackay Media. That's the old company of my current CMO. Let's say it's Mackay Media. Yeah. Then you just go abby@mackaymedia.com. Well, there you fucking go. You found it. Like that's probably the email, right? So it's not that hard. Number 2, second easy way. If they have a group, for example, a school group or a Discord group or whatever, go into there. You'll see the names of the admins. So on school, it'll say, oh, the admin his name is James. Well, great. James@mackaymedia.com. That's probably his email. And so you can guess the emails very, very easily. Another easy way, you can just, like the founder, just take his name, John at blah, blah, blah. A couple other ones. This is number 4. You just go like the common emails route. Info@Mackay Media, sales@Mackay Media, support@Mackay Media, clients@Mackay Media. Like just do all the common ones, right? Until you have a list of like, I don't know, 20 emails or 15 emails of all the people in the company you can find, right? That's number 1. That's step 1. You find the people to email. Then you send them an email with this structure, and it has to be personalized to the company. The structure is, number 1, what do you love about that company or the founder? So this could be something about their mission, what they want to achieve as a company that you just absolutely love. This could be something about their founder. He's really passionate or he's really confident or whatever you love about him, right? That's number 1 in the email. Then you go, what are your skills? This could be soft skills or hard skills. A hard skill is, I'm very good at objection handling. I'm very good at diffusing resistance. A soft skill is, I'm very hardworking. I'm very coachable. So they're different. Now, here's the key. This is where people fuck up. When it comes to like a soft skill, for example, if I tell you and you didn't know who I was, I'm the most committed person you're ever going to meet in your whole fucking life. You don't believe me. But if I say when I was 16 years old, I dropped out of high school, ran away from home, started working 18 hours a day for 2 years fucking straight, now you're like, holy shit, he's a committed. Because I said something and it backed up the fact that I am. And so rather than just saying, oh, I'm coachable, I'm hardworking, you have to give examples of you being hardworking or coachable, and it'll make them believe it naturally, right? That's number two. Then you go, those skills, whether it's hard skills or soft skills, how does that help them achieve their mission as a company or achieve the founder's mission? And you connect the two. Now it's the third step. So that's the email. And then at the very bottom, I recommend this, create a loom, basically covering what you just said in the email in video format, just because different people interpret, communicate, and get information differently, right? And so video format's also good to have. That way they also see what you look like, et cetera. You're like a real person, right? And then you take that and you send it to every single person that was in that company. Why? Because now that you have all their emails, what happens when they go to work or they hop on a call next time? I got this email. I got this email from the same guy. Wait, I also got this email. What the fuck? How do you get all of our emails? What is he doing? And then they're like, holy shit, wait, this guy's like hardworking. Like he actually gets after it. He gives a fuck. And then eventually they're like, okay, I'll give him an interview. I'll test him out. Then you get on that interview, and because you mastered your script, body language, and verbal cues, you crush that shit. Now they want to hire you. You're the best in the fucking world. And that's how it works. That's how I got an offer. I've never been rejected from a company. I've worked in 3 different offers where I was the number one guy, outclicked the rest of the teams in every single one of them. And that's how I got all those offers while I was a minor.
So I fucking love that. But one thing that came to my mind is, so for example, I have one friend who I'm helping him get into sales. And then there's this one guy he really wants to work for. And so he applies yesterday. And then the guy's like, oh, sorry, man, I'm not hiring anymore. Just hired this one guy. And what I'm telling him is like, you just cannot take no for an answer. Like, prove to this guy, like, how much value you can have and, like, how much you can do for his company. And just, like, keep trying. So what would you do if, like, you got rejected from an offer just to, like, keep going and, like, make sure this guy says yes?
Well, like, I'll give you an example. Some of those companies I got accepted into, the sales manager said no way, zero shot, you're a minor, that's illegal, this and this and that. The founder sends me an email the next day. Oh my God, I really appreciate you being so committed. Yeah, I'll set up an interview. And then I'm hired. Like, so number one, go after as many people as you can. You don't just want to take no from an answer from one person. Go after everybody. That's number one. Number two, even if they say no, you just keep going. I did a podcast with a guy named Nick Fisher. He was interviewing me. He does 9 figures a year in the info space. 9 figures a year across his companies. And he's not an investor. He's like an owner in all of those, right? In info. So super high margins and everything else. And he told me when he first started, he was Sam Ovens' first employee. And I forgot if he did this with Sam Ovens or if he did it with Pace Morby, because now he works super closely with Pace as well. It was one of the two. He literally goes into their office and he says, I am not leaving until I have a fucking interview. I'm not leaving. And he stayed in the office for like 10 hours. Finally, the guy says, fine, come in. Speaks to him for a little bit and hires him. That's what you need to do. Like, that's the level of like, I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm finding a fucking way. Like, put me in here, coach. Like, that's what you need to do. And so, yeah, you can't take no from an answer. You have to go after other people as well, though. Don't be a fucking idiot messaging the same guy 30 times. Like, he's not going to change, right? And just be more committed than anybody else, and people will see that.
100%, bro. 100%. So I really want to dive into now more of like the psychology aspect and like some of the psychological tactics that you've used in sales and you've also just used in your everyday life. Because man, I can talk about this stuff like all day. I love psychology. So one line that you said in one of your videos was, if somebody feels completely comfortable and completely safe, they'll say yes every time. So go deeper into that and like how, for example, can I create a sense of emotional safety when I'm on a sales call?
It's interesting because it's not so much about like emotional safety.
Right.
You need to make them feel like they're a certain kind of person, meaning reinforcing their identity, and make them feel like you're not judging them. That's the key. You never want to be in a position where they think you're judging them. Like you're there to help them, so you have to get pain, but you're not judging them. How do you do that? You reinforce them doing good things and you put down bad things. Humans are trained like dogs. Like this sounds fucked up. Humans are literally like dogs in terms of their mentality and their psychology. That's how you train them. With like classical conditioning, with operant conditioning, like Pavlovian conditioning, all these things that apply to dogs and animals apply to humans as well. And anybody can research any of those terms and you'll see they're literally also using human terms, even though that's the same way that they condition rats and fucking dogs and everything else, right? Works the same way. If somebody says something bad to you and you inflict pain on them. Imagine somebody said something, and anytime they say something bad to them, you just went and you slapped the fucking shit out of them until they like passed out. Are they going to say a lot of bad things? No. They learn pretty quick. If at the same time, somebody is, let's say they're in a fucking cage. Let's imagine it's a dog, right? But we'll just put a human in the cage. If there's a human in the cage and he's super hungry, he's about to die, he's starving. And anytime he does something good, you give him a plate of McDonald's. Is he going to do a lot of good things? Yeah, because he's fucking starving and you're reinforcing him in a positive way. That's how humans think. And so if a prospect, for example, is being very open with you on a call and they go, yeah, man, I mean, I'm super fat, like 60 pounds overweight, and I can't play sports with my kids anymore or anything else, then I need to reinforce that with an identity. So I go, and I really appreciate you because like I can tell you're a great father, by the way. So kudos to you. I'm a great father. I'm a great father. Oh, holy shit, I'm a great father. And now they have all this positive emotion in their head for being a great father. So what does that make them want to do? I want to keep being a great father. If last time I opened up, I was a great father, well, I want to open up more. That's how the brain thinks. And it's a subconscious thing. It's not even a conscious thing. It's literally subconscious. That works with positive or negative reinforcement. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people go, oh, but isn't that manipulative? Isn't that so bad? Like, aren't you just like manipulating people? That's what people do subconsciously without even realizing it. If a buddy tells you something you don't like in a conversation, what do? Dude, why you say that? I don't like that. Don't say that to me. Don't say that about me. Because he just said something, you're negatively reinforcing it so he doesn't do it again. Is that manipulation? Is that terrible? No. But you have to understand, in life, you're not granted anything. All you have is your cards, and you have to learn tools to allow you to achieve and get what you want out of life. Whether it seems evil or bad or whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's PvP. It's player versus player.
True.
You're either the one who's winning and the one who understands and has the tools, or you're the one that's getting manipulated and used like a fucking puppet because you don't understand anything about life. It's one of the two. And you're playing the game. You can't opt out from it, to be very clear. That's number one. Right? On the other side, if you want to negatively reinforce somebody for doing something bad, if they start saying, I don't know, fucking, I was too comfortable in the past and everything was kind of fine about my life, so I just didn't really want to invest or like lose the weight. That's a bad belief for them to have. So I need to reframe that. I need to flip that. So how do I do it? I go, well, can I make a suggestion, man? It's kind of like what they say, like growth happens outside the comfort zone, right? Would you agree? They say yes. And then it's like, so can you see how, I guess, like you living in that comfort, like feeling like everything is okay, certain and comfortable, can you see how maybe that's the reason we're in this position now, where we're 50 pounds overweight, we're not able to play sports with our kids, etc.? Can you see that? They go, yes. What did I just do? I just attached pain with that belief. So I'm negatively reinforcing that belief to make them remove it from their own brain. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
So that's how that works. That's how you shift these beliefs and start changing them as human beings. What was the original question? I went on a side tangent. I got lost.
Bro, your answer was so good. I honestly forget the original question. Okay. That was fucking good. But one thing that really did come to my mind was, so you said so nobody likes to feel judged, and it's like when somebody feels like the salesperson's judging them, that's what triggers sales resistance, and then that never ends well. But I think a lot of people will hear your advice of being respected instead of being liked, like try and act in a way that makes them more respected, but then just come off as super judgmental and then have the opposite effect. So how do you balance how do you make people respect you and be firm with people, but not make them feel judged?
Great question. So the way to be respected is to tell the truth. For example, I was coaching a guy and I was reviewing one of his sales calls in objection handling, and a prospect told him, he was like, man, I'm really sorry. I can't promise you right now that I'm going to do it. Promise the salesperson. He's the one who's fucking 80 pounds overweight and fat.
Yeah.
Fuck is he promising me for? So what's the best pattern interrupt right there? I have to give him truth. So I can go like, well, I mean, man, like, are you promising it to me or are you promising it to yourself? Because you're the one who's 60 pounds overweight at the end of the day. And I say that because I care. Like, out of love. Pause. What did I just do? Honesty, truth. Who's the one who's 60 pounds overweight? So are you promising it to me or yourself? Obviously, he's promising it to himself. But then I said, and again, I say it because I care. Because I want to help you. So what does that do? I'm showing him, I'm not judging you for being 60 pounds overweight. I'm not judging you. Like, I'm here to help you. That's what I care about. Yeah. However, I'm also not going to take any bullshit. So I'm respected. That's how you balance it too. Them feeling like, oh, he actually cares. He's not judging me. That's why you go like, I appreciate you being so honest. It really makes it easier for me to help you. Like, oh, you're really courageous for that. That makes him feel like, oh, he's not judging me. He actually gives a shit. But at the same time, if they give me any bullshit, I'm calling that shit out and they are not going to like it. So that's the balance between the two.
Totally. No, it totally makes sense. So I love the idea that you have of mentally anchoring yourself by using a positive memory, for example, or like finding some kind of negative memory to mentally anchor your emotions. Do you have, so I want you to go into that, and then after that, I'm so curious, like, do you have any other psychological tactics that you use on yourself to perform better?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. Ask me that again, because after this tangent, I'm going to fucking forget by that point. But, okay, so when it comes to anchors, number one, you have to understand what is an anchor. What is an emotion? An emotion is really just a state that you're in. Every emotion is temporary, but it's a state. So I could feel right now super frustrated, super tired, super down, and the way I'm going to act in that state is very different than if I felt gratitude and happy and excited and energetic. They're very different.
Right, yeah.
Now, what causes those things, though? That's the interesting thing. Because you don't just wake up and all of a sudden, oh, today, I'm going to be a piece of shit today. Let's do that. Nobody does that. There's things that tangibly happen in your life that make you be the gratitude version of yourself or the tired, shitty human being version of yourself.
Totally.
Those things that happen to you are called anchors. Yeah. Now, an anchor could be something you do. It could be something you say. It could be something you speak to. It could be a place that you visit, a memory you think of, something that somebody tells you. It could be almost anything, because almost anything that happens to you has some kind of emotion attached to that thing. And the beauty of it is that if you can start to understand what anchors create certain states inside of you and certain emotions inside of you, you can start intentionally using those anchors to bring those states and emotions out of you on purpose.
Yeah.
Which is extremely powerful. For example, if I tell you right now, think back to Christmas when you were a kid. Right now, visualize it. Imagine. Think back to you, Christmas morning as a kid, surrounded by your family, opening presents, about to eat some fucking cookies and milk because Santa didn't take them that night. Imagine that. You feel this positive emotion go through your brain. Yeah, the Wi-Fi's cutting out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Okay, we're all good now.
The Wi-Fi just cut out for like 15 seconds. I couldn't hear anything.
All
I
good.
can hear you.
All good.
Okay, I'll continue from there.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. When I say that, you feel this positive emotion as if you were there. Like you feel this positive emotion flush your brain. Sure. If I tell you right now, though, think about the worst memory you've ever had in your entire life. Worst thing that's ever happened to you. You feel this negative emotion.
You can feel it in your body,
every memory, exactly, like your body tenses up. You go back 100%. Into that physiology. Exactly. Because every memory is an anchor, and every anchor has a state attached to it. And so then we have to understand, well, what are the most powerful anchors? Now, memories are one anchor, and those are powerful, but the most powerful are things that also involve your body, your physiology. Here's why. If I tell you right now, imagine a depressed person. I don't believe in that concept, but imagine somebody that is extremely down, that kid in high school who's alone, who looks like he's about to shoot himself half the time. Imagine that kid. Is his head and his shoulders up and tall, or is it hunched over and down? Which one?
Yeah, it's hunched over. Yeah, I can see it in his face too. Every part of his body.
He's hunched, he's slouched. Is he breathing deep, getting a lot of oxygen into him, or is he breathing just shallow, kind of getting by?
Breathing shallow.
Breathing shallow. Exactly. Is he walking with big strides and super confident, or is he just kind of stumbling along like, I'm just here. I'm just a guy.
Exactly. Just like
he's just stumbling
existing, rather than living. Yeah.
Now, exactly. Now, if you think about an athlete in his prime, right before he gets onto the field, in the Super Bowl, he's about to walk out. He's ready for the game. Is he walking around like this? No, one of his teammates is probably going to slap the shit out of him if he does that. Yeah. He's confident. He's walking. He has purpose. Oxygen. He's standing tall. Yeah. That's his physiology and everything about it. And a lot of people think, and they make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, I have this thought or this state inside of me. Therefore, this is how I act. This is how I talk. This is how I move. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it is actually the other way around. Because, for example, if you were super tired right now, super tired, super down, and I told you to do push-ups for 10 minutes straight, after those 10 minutes of push-ups, do you get up and maybe you have a little bit more energy, a little bit more oxygen inside of you? Maybe you're a little less sleepy? Exactly. Because your physiology, the things that you physically do with your body, determine a lot of that state that you have.
Yeah.
That's the interesting part. And so that's why these anchors, the physical ones that involve your body in rapid movement, those are the most powerful ones that you can do. And so the question then becomes, and this is where we tie it all together into how I actually created my anchors, is how do you turn some physical movement into an anchor in the first place? If I went right now and I was super tired and I did, which obviously you can tell I'm not very tired, but let's imagine I was super tired and I went down and I did 5 minutes of push-ups. By the end of those 5 minutes, I have more energy. But that's not because it's an anchor. That's just because it's something physical that I did with my body. Right. Now, if every time I'm tired for the next 3 months, I went down and I did 5 minutes of push-ups, Let's say it's 3 times a day. Soon, my body and my brain subconsciously starts to understand that every time we're tired, we do push-ups, and then we're more energetic, different state. And so your brain starts forming this shortcut where now all of a sudden you don't need to do 5 minutes of push-ups. Maybe now you only do 1 minute and you feel the same because your brain has created this shortcut. Now, maybe give it another 3 months. Maybe now you do 5 push-ups and all of a sudden you feel that same state because your brain has created this massive shortcut between this anchor. Now it's an anchor of you doing push-ups with you having a good state and being very energetic. That's how you create anchors with something physical. And those are the most powerful ones. For example, before I get into any podcast, before I record any piece of content, it looks like I fucking have cerebral palsy because I start doing this shit really fast and breathe in and out with everyone. It's like really fast. And because I've done this for a year and a half, it's an anchor for me. Anytime I do that, I feel higher energy immediately. Anytime before a podcast, anytime before a meeting or a sales call, anything. That's what I do. So that's how you leverage anchors to make sure you have as much energy as possible.
So what exactly are some of your anchors? Other than the push-ups and then doing that with your hands, what are some of the mental anchors, like the memories that you put yourself back to, and the physical anchors as well?
So I only have one memory anchor that I really use. The main anchor that I use is that physical one because it's the most powerful. So I do that. But in some situations, like if I'm in the middle of a podcast or the middle of a recording session and I feel tired, I'm not just going to start fucking whipping this shit out in the middle of the podcast. And so I have to have some memory ones. So my main one that I use as a memory, I have 2 of them. The most common one I use though is when I was a little kid. And by the way, anchors, the most powerful ones are the ones from when you were like a child. Because when you're a little kid, you don't have these restrictions or social anxiety. You don't give a fuck about any of that. You're playful, you're happy, you're a kid. And so those are some of the most powerful ones. The one I used, so when I was a little kid, and I had this coach named Coach Eric, right? Yeah. This is a guy I still send emails to every couple of years, every couple of months. Massive influence on my life. He was my soccer coach, right? And he always used to put me on the team that was 4 years older than my age. And so when I was like 5, I was playing with the 9-year-olds. When I was 7, I was playing with the 11-year-old, right? And he was a massive figure in my life because he taught me a lot of discipline. And when I was around him and at practice, those were some of my happiest memories ever. Kicking the ball, playing around, that sense of competitiveness, of just the smell of fresh grass at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning before a game, seeing the entire field. It's like your fucking playground. It's like your playground of life.
Yeah.
And that's what it was like for me. And those are some of my happiest memories. And so that's one memory I bring back to create that positive emotion because it makes me more playful. It makes me like a kid again. The other one is me. I remember this specific time. I was on a street corner and it was me, my mom, my dad, and my brother, my middle brother. And my dad is like, oh, let's go home, whatever. And I think it was around like 11 a.m. or like midday. And this is when I was probably 4, like super little. And I was like, Mom, can we go get ice cream like as a family? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, me, this little kid, it's sunny outside, beautiful weather. We're all walking to get ice cream together. One of my happiest memories. No problem, no possible anxiety or fear or anything I could think of. So those are like the 2 memories I use because I have a lot of positive emotion anchored and attached to those. But yeah, once again, I think the physical ones are the most powerful. But those are the 2 memory ones that I do use.
Yeah, I love that. And what are some other psychological tactics that you use on yourself to perform better other than the anchoring?
I'll give one. It's called the horizon effect. So I learned this where, actually, before I go into that one, I'll tell you another one because I have a better story that goes with this one. Yeah. It's the same concept of whenever you want to be able to do something easily, you go way too far on purpose, you over-exaggerate it, and then you find a good middle ground. So when I was trying to develop my work ethic in sales, there was a point in time when, again, I was doing 17, 18 hours a day, every single day. And so on average, I was probably sleeping 4.5 to 5.5 hours a night, on average, I'd say, right? And I had this mental belief where if I slept anything in the 4s, so 4 hours, 4.5 hours, 4 hours and 50 fucking minutes, that I couldn't perform. This was a mental block of mine. And so I was like, how do I get rid of this? So one day I decided, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take calls. I'm going to work for 48 hours straight. And I did this with a buddy of mine, Connor Trunk. And for 48 hours straight, just work in a row without sleeping, nothing. A fuck ton of caffeine, whatever, going for walks, doing anchors, everything. 48 hours straight. And on both of those days, I still outperformed the rest of the team. On both of them. Even the second day when I had no sleep, nothing, I still destroyed everybody by fucking miles. And so that completely broke that entire belief of like, oh, if I sleep in the 4 hours, I can't do it because I just slept 0 hours and I still didn't. And so that got rid of that entire thing for me. And that taught me that important concept that day of like, if you ever have any fear or you have any anxiety that stops you from doing something, you just go way, way past it, and then it becomes easy. That's it. If you have a fear of speaking on camera, fucking go speak in front of a room of 100 people, come back to the camera, and you're like, this is the easiest thing in the world. The easiest thing ever. So you always go way too far, and then you come back, and then it becomes easy. That's my best advice. If somebody has a fear of cold calling, cold call for 24 hours straight. Do a challenge cold call for 24 hours straight, and I promise you the next day when you need to do 200 cold calls, easiest thing of your life. So that's another psychological trick that's really easy. A third one, and this one that's very interesting, is the horizon effect. Yeah. So I had this mentor in the past. He's now the CEO of the company. We actually hired him in a couple of weeks, couple of months ago, whatever. At Ryder, he's ex-Special Forces sniper. So he used to be a Special Forces sniper. He got deployed multiple times, etc. Fucking great dude, absolute savage. He also made 100K a month in commissions, nine-figure entrepreneur, everything, right? He said this story back from his Special Forces days. And it was this. They did things, and he was Australian Special Forces. So they would do this challenge where everybody had to do push-ups all together until a certain amount of people quit. And those people were removed from the Special Forces. This is like in the trials. This is the equivalent of like the Hell Week to go into the Navy SEALs. Yeah. So they literally just do push-ups until a certain amount of people, half the people, whatever, just quit. Yeah. And they're removed forever. There's not an amount. It's not, do 1,000 push-ups. No, it's like until some people just break mentally and they quit. And the thing he taught is like, you have to use this horizon effect. So when your brain thinks that you're doing something forever, it makes this thing seem way bigger in your brain than it actually is. And so you feel like quitting right there. But if you chunk it down, it's a lot more manageable. So instead of going, I'm doing push-ups until everybody's quitting, you go, you know what? I'm going to do 10 more push-ups and then I can quit. Just 10 more. And you do them. 10 push-ups, 10 push-ups. Great. Okay, great. I'm done with my 10 push-ups. You know what? Could I do one more? I think so. You know what? Let's do another 10. And then I can quit. And you bang them out. Another 10. Boom, 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 boom. And then you just keep doing that over and over and over again, because anytime you finish the 10, you realize I could actually do more. And so you force yourself to keep going. But if you think that what you're doing is infinite, if you think the pain that you're enduring is infinite and it's never going to stop, that's almost impossible to get past and almost impossible to beat, because your brain doesn't understand there's an end to the pain. And so you need to create some kind of end, because once you reach that end, then you just ask yourself, well, can I go a little further? Yes, I can. Great. Well, then I'm not quitting. And it makes it way more digestible, way more easy for yourself. And so that's another trick you can use, the horizon trick. And that works as a whole, even in business. You could go, I'm going to make calls for one more week, and then I'll call it quits. Everything is shit. My life sucks. One more week. I'm a pussy. Great. One more week. Let's do it. And then you do one more week. And at the end of the week, you're like, well, can I go a little longer? I guess I can't. You know what? I guess I can't. Well, another week. I'm still a pussy. Just one more week, and then I'm fine. And you do the week, and you get to the end of the week. Shit, maybe I can do a little bit more. Until eventually you wake up one day, and you have this money, and you're no longer having to convince yourself, because you've actually gotten results from the thing. And so now you're so driven, and you don't need these little tricks or gimmicks in your brain or psychological hacks to push yourself, because you've already gotten the results. And you've changed who you are as a person to become somebody who's actually hardworking. And so the horizon effect is very, very powerful. And anybody can use that in any aspect of their life, whether it be fitness, whether it be anything.
How do you think sales has helped you in dating?
It taught me a lot of valuable lessons, and it made me a much stronger person mentally. I always give this example. Most people are like, do what you're passionate about. Do what you love. I don't believe in that shit. As a man, you don't do what you love. You don't do what you're passionate about. You do what you have to do to get an outcome and get a result. And if you're not a pussy, you figure out the love, and you figure out what is good about the thing you're doing, and you find gratitude in it. That's how it goes. Like, that's just how it has to work. When I ran away from home when I was 16, even though I had loving parents and I grew up in a middle-class family and everything else, when I ran away from home, I wasn't thinking, what do I like to do? What do I have a passion for? No, I need to make money. I need a life. I need freedom. That's what I need. That's all I give a fuck about. I don't like sales. Who gives a shit? Get over it, champ. Fucking do it anyways. So like, I think that's kind of the mentality you have to have. What was the original question again?
How has sales helped you in your dating life?
Okay, perfect. Oh, in my dating life. I thought you said day-to-day life. Okay, that's different. Let's reconsider. Well, okay, I think it's actually very similar. So that answer is actually still perfect. Wonderful. You figure out that it doesn't matter what I want to do. I'm just going to do what I have to do to get the outcome. So if I'm thinking about dating, it's like, great, I could be scared of asking out this girl. Well, who gives a fuck? I'm going to do it anyways, because you just have to do what you have to do, and you have no regard for anything else. So that's the most important aspect. You also start to understand that you live in a world of more abundance. It's very interesting. If you think about the school system, how you're taught, what happens? You have units, you have lessons, learn. You're a failure, you failed it. Okay, we're on to the next unit. Fucking fantastic. Now you don't actually learn anything. Life is the opposite. Life, you take the test first, you fail, then you learn. Then you do the units and the chapters and everything else. And then you take another test. And then that second test, you better fucking pass it, or hopefully you do really good at it and you get your A or whatever it is, right? It works the exact same way. It's like the issue with that mentality of prepare, and then take the test is if you act like that in real life, you tend to lose to the people who just say, fuck it, let's take the test and then learn. If before you ask out a girl, you have to analyze, oh, but what if I could ask her in a better situation? What if there's a better way I could ask her? I don't feel prepared. Maybe I didn't do my hair today. And you start getting in your head before you take the test, you fuck up. But the people who win, the people who get what they want in life, whether it's in dating or anything else, they go, well, you know what? I could ask her out. And if she says no, there's millions of other beautiful women in this world that I could also ask out. So let me take the test and then I'll learn. And hopefully it works out. If it doesn't, I learn. And then I do it again. And so it's execute. That applies to that. That applies to anything else in life. It works the exact same way. It's the same in sales, it's the same in business.
And I found at least for me, it's like doing sales, and like sales, it gets you so used to rejection, and also like you become so good at pushing past rejection and not taking no for an answer. And I think like those like two skills are so important in dating. Like after doing sales, it's like I have no fear at all of rejection. Like my mind is just so desensitized to rejection that it's like I can ask any podcast guest, I can go up and talk to any girl, and it's like the fear now is just like non-existent. Whereas before it was like I was like so anxious, overthinking every little thing. Now it's like if they say no, okay, who the fuck cares? Move on to the next person. And it's like that mindset, I think it just like really frees you up and like makes you so much better, not just dating, but it's like any area of your life where you're asking for something.
Exactly. That's number one. And also number two, and this is another great point, sales gets you really good at understanding what people want and what drives people.
100%.
And the easiest way to make somebody happen or make somebody like a relationship or whatever, whether it be in a relationship romantically or in your day-to-day life with a buddy of yours or whatever, is understanding what the person wants. Exactly. But it's understanding what somebody wants and what drives them. Because if what drives you and what drives them is in alignment, well, it's pretty easy to make shit work, right? And it makes it easy to make that person happy and for them to make you happy because you also know how to communicate what you want as well because you actually understand yourself. Most people don't even take the time to sit down and be like, what do I want out of my life? What do I want? Because they know they're never going to achieve it anyways. They already gave up on that shit fucking decades ago. So they never sit down to actually think about it. But once you're in sales or business or anything else, in a vehicle that actually allows you to achieve what you want, it allows you to sit down and be like, this is what I want. I want X and Y and Z, and then you plan and act accordingly. And you communicate it to other people. That way they know as well, and they know how to make you happy.
Do you think you consider yourself successful?
Yes, but it's not enough. Like, I absolutely consider myself successful by any definition of what I used to consider successful, or by any definition of what other people say to me. It's pretty hard not to be completely fair. But that doesn't mean it's enough. In no way does it make me go, you know what? I've done enough. I'm successful now. In no way does it do that. I actually think, if anything, the opposite. People always say, I'm so hungry, I want to get to 10K a month. The people who are already millionaires, who have already achieved, are more hungry to achieve even more or become a billionaire than the person who hasn't even hit 10K a month. Because that person, that millionaire, was hungry enough to hit the 10K a month and go past it. And so they're just naturally a more driven person. If somebody doesn't hit 10K a month, I'm sorry to break it to you, it's just because you're just not hungry. You're just not driven enough. And so those people who are millionaires who want to become even more successful, or those billionaires who want to make even more money, they're more driven to do that than the average person is of getting to 10K a month. And so me, as somebody who, again, makes $350,000 a month, $400,000 a month, whatever it is, the number's always fucking changing, but it always gets higher, which is a good part, right? But as somebody in that position, it's like, I'm still hungrier to get to the next level than the guy who makes $0 looking to get to 10K a month. And so me considering myself successful and using that as a definition does not change my action of wanting to be even more successful.
Totally. So I've had so many people say to me, like, oh, you're not going to be happy with more money. It's like, you're going to like get a certain amount, the number's going to change. Like, you're never going to be happy. Just like stop wanting money. And honestly, I think like, yeah, maybe that's true. Yeah, like, having more money won't make you happy. Then again, it's like, I think like, let's say you get 10K a month, then now you focus on 50K a month. Then after 50K, you focus on 100K. Having that mindset is so great because it's like, that's the fun of business. Like, imagine if you just hit 10K a month and then just like, you're just like, okay, cool, my life's done. Like, life would be so boring.
And it brings up another point. Like, those people, they need to get that stupid shit out of their head now. Like, they need to get that stupid shit out of there. Like, if you, like, great. Okay, whenever people say, oh, the next number won't make you happy. Maybe it's true that the number itself won't make you happy. However, it allows you to do things that will make you a lot happier. Yeah. How can the guy who goes to a job 12 hours a day, makes $8 a fucking hour to try and take care of his whole family, who can't even spend any time with them, not because he chooses not to because he's doing more work, but because he literally can't because he's told by a boss what to do all day, how can that guy truly be happy and fulfilled? I don't think he can. But if you have a guy who has enough money to work, he can choose what he wants to do. He can spend the time with his family. He can spend it on philanthropy or whatever makes him happy or he gets fulfillment from. That person has the chance to become a lot happier than another guy who's just being told what to do 24/7 and has no control even over his own life. That's like the recipe for unhappiness. Especially as a man, being in a position where somebody else is telling you what to do all day and you have no control over your own life. I think that's the most emasculating thing possible. Like, I can't imagine that shit. And so, yeah, the next number might not make you happy, but what you can do with it absolutely will. And I also think another reason why is because, and I don't think, really I know, this is just basic human psychology. I just want to be nice to maybe some pussies watching this, but regardless, as a man, I think true happiness doesn't actually come from happiness. It comes from fulfillment. And how do you get fulfilled as a man? Well, let me ask you and anybody watching this. If you were to buy yourself a present that cost $1,000, or you buy your mom a present that cost $1,000, what makes you happier? Where do you feel more joy?
I feel like buying my mom the gift for sure.
Exactly. So as a man, where does that fulfillment come from?
Helping others, like providing for other people.
Giving shit to other people.
Yeah, like leaving a legacy, being like a positive
being a provider. Exactly. Giving to other people. That's what brings fulfillment. If you think about a woman, it's completely different. A woman, when they want to go shopping with you, how many things do they buy for you versus for themselves? They want to buy everything for themselves. Chanel purse here, this, that. They never sit down and they're like, I'm going to buy you a Chanel purse today. Honey, you've been a great boyfriend. I'm going to buy you a Chanel purse. Like, when does that shit ever happen? Never. So that's where it's different. So then as a man, well, great. You get your happiness and your true fulfillment from helping other people. And so if then that's the case, then your goal should be to make as much money as you can to help those other people and be able to have an impact. That's how you do it. And so then, well, great. That means you need to become more successful. You need to give more. And that's inherently in turn what's going to make you happier as a person.
Yeah.
And so that's where it distincts more. But that's whenever people say, oh, money isn't going to bring you happiness. That's just their excuse because they don't want to make the money and they can't become successful.
100%. And it's like, yeah, maybe the dollar won't make you happy, but what does make you happy is one, the pursuit of it. And then two, like what you can actually do with it. And then what that gives you access to, because it's like you use that money to buy things that actually improve your quality of life, have more freedom, provide for other people, etc. When you were just starting out in an online business, what was like the driving force behind you wanting to make money?
At the very beginning, to be completely honest, I mean, it came from, again, I felt like I didn't fit in. I was like, I need to be superior to these people. I want to step on their fucking throats. I need to be better than all of them. I'm going to make more money as a way to be superior. That was my initial driver at the beginning.
And how has that changed?
I think it's changed in the sense of you reach a point where once you're making 30 grand a month and you see those kids still in math class, you're kind of like, well, I guess I'm already kind of above them. Like, that can't really drive me anymore. Like, I need something new. You know what I mean? So that's when it became a lot more about, well, I'll give you this as an example. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying a second ago of like, when you spend on other people as a man, you feel a lot more happy than spending on yourself, right? It's kind of the same concept where I got to a certain point where making more money didn't really even give me dopamine, really. It didn't even really give me like even happiness or pleasure, much less fulfillment. Where like, once you hit 100K a month, it's like, okay, if I make an extra 50K a month or another 100K a month, what really changes about your life? What really changes? Like, great, I have a mansion in Puerto Rico, 6,000 square feet. I live with my boys. We have a great fucking time. I can travel wherever I want. I can do whatever I want with whoever I want. Like, I already have the base level of fame, whatever you want to call it. Like, I already have those things. So me making another $100,000 a month really changes nothing. Once you get to a couple million a month, for example, of profit, then you can buy private jets and shit like this. But at this level, nothing really changes. And even that, I mean, I don't think that's going to make you that much more happy by any means. And so you need to have that same drive. But where does that drive come from? For me, if I make 50 grand today, yesterday I made about 30 grand. If I make 50 grand a day versus if I have somebody hop onto a call with me on one of our group calls, like happened yesterday, I had 3 people on the call. One of them was like, dude, when I was 15 years old, you spoke to me on a group call. You told me to run away from home. This, to be clear, this is not advice to everybody else. This is a very specific person, a very specific situation. But I told him, I was like, fine, do it. He went to London. He started doing sales. 6 months later, he came back to me yesterday on that call and he was like, dude, you changed my life. I'm the number one setter in a $5 million a month company. I'm living in London now with one of my boys. I'm completely alone. I ran away from home. Everything's fucking amazing. So I see that. That gives me way more dopamine than if today I were to make 50 grand. Don't give a fuck. Nothing changes. So you reach a point where that drive or that fulfillment comes from something else, which has to involve other people. Because if you wake up one morning and the reason you're working, the reason you're trying hard is for yourself, and you wake up tired one morning, or you're sad, or you're feeling down, you're not going to work very hard that day because it's about you. But if you wake up and you're like, I need to help all these other people, you wake up and you feel tired, you feel down, you feel frustrated. It doesn't matter because you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for those people anyways.
Yeah.
So it makes no difference. So that drive becomes a lot more powerful. I don't think at the beginning that's even a good thing to have necessarily. I think you need to have that darker energy of it coming from other people. And I think you always have that darker energy subconsciously in other parts of your brain, which we could speak about in a second. But that's kind of how the drive shifts over time.
So I'm really curious, which other parts of your shadow and other dark motivations have you been able to use?
Great question. The shadow is a very interesting thing. Carl, you're a pedophile.
Love talking about this stuff.
Okay, yeah. So I think one of the main ones is like, for example, when I made my first $1,000 in business, I go to my mom and I tell her, I'm like, Mom, I made $1,000. Everything's fucking amazing. Holy shit, I'm going to be free. And she goes, good job. And I was like, God damn, you would have been happier if I told you I got 100 on a fucking math test. Like, holy shit. Like, that really meant nothing. And I was like, oh, maybe I just need to make more. Maybe once I start making more, then I'll reach a point where she's proud or happy. And I reached a point where when I was 16, was it? Yeah, 16. And I tell her, actually, 17. No, 16.
Yeah.
16. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting confused. 16. And one day I'm on the phone with my mom and my dad, and I was telling them that I'm dropping out of online school, which there was really nothing they could do about it. I was just telling them because I wanted to be nice and pissed, fucking pissed. And my mom goes, and I've never actually said this publicly ever. My mom goes, she goes, you only have, I think, I forgot what it was. I think it was like 50 grand in the bank or something like that. She was like, you only have 50 grand in the bank. You've been working for a year. You know, if you were going to become that successful, you'd have more than that at this point. Something along those lines. And that fucking hurt. Like, that shit struck deep. Because they had different values than I had. And I in no way blame them for that whatsoever. That's the best thing that ever fucking happened to me. If they had been like, oh, I'm so proud of you, everything's fucking amazing, you're like, this is fantastic, I wouldn't have anywhere near the drive that I have, and I wouldn't have been able to help other people as much as I did. So I could not be more happy that they said that to me, or that they had their certain values that they had and instilled into me. Because all that work ethic that I have, all those other things, a lot of that came from my parents. They might have used it in other aspects, like they're both professors, and they've done great things in that realm. I couldn't be happier to have them as parents. I think they were the best parents in the world. However, those little things happen, right? And that happens with any kid, where those become part of that darker psychology or part of that shadow of yours that also pushes you even further. So them saying that, it was like, and this will sound stupid, after that, I was like, oh shit, but maybe if I have $1 million in my bank account, maybe then they'll be happy and have validation, all this other shit. And so then it just pushes you further and further and further and further, right? Which is obviously part of your darker psychology and part of your shadow. And it just pushed me more and more and more and more. So I would say that was like another massive part of my shadow that pushed me further. And then eventually you realize no number I hit is really going to do that. Like, there are other things I've done now where I'll tell them I spoke on a stage, or I had a call with X amount of people where I helped them, or some kid came to me and told me I changed his life because of X and Y and Z. Or when we were in Mexico, I went with my family, people recognized me in fucking Mexico, which was the last thing I expected because motherfuckers don't even speak English. But people recognized me there, and then they were like, holy shit, like, that's really cool. Like, you're changing a lot of lives, blah, blah, blah. And then that gave them, like, obviously, then they showed me more of that admiration, I guess, in a sense, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that was a massive part of my shadow that really pushed me, and I could not be more happy that it did.
Which other parts do you think?
There are certain traits that I got, like, my brother was an addict, a drug addict when he was younger, went to 7 different high schools, all this shit. And so this kind of plays into the same thing. My parents always had to give him the attention, rightfully so. They had to help him. He had to go to rehab and everything else, right? And so I grew up very independent. There would be multiple days at a time where I would see nobody from my family, right? But just because, like, they had to, right? They had to take him to different places, and I had to do other things, whatever it was. And because of that, then I seek the sense of validation of, like, oh, well, I want to feel that love as well. Like, they're putting all this time into him. They love him so much. I want to feel this love as well. And so then it forced me to do things to try and seek that. Back then, that was a long time ago, whether that was trying to work harder in my math tests to do better so I would get more validation, they'd be more proud of me, whatever it was, right? So there's certain parts there. It forced me to be a lot more independent. I had to learn to cook my own meals, which, as ridiculous as that sounds, most kids of that age don't cook their own meals. They don't do their own laundry. They do none of that shit. I had to learn how to do that own stuff myself. And so it gave me a sense of responsibility as well, which I'm very glad for, right? Like, I would not be in the situation if it was not for that. I had to learn to, my brother, when he was going through that period as an addict, again, I've never said a lot of these things online. There was times when obviously he had withdrawals and stuff because he was trying to quit at certain periods and all that stuff. And so he would do certain things. Like, I don't know, whether he would say stuff or threaten stuff or fucking, like, whatever it was, right? And so then that also taught me, well, great. Even in the face of having to deal with shit or whatever it was, I still need to be able to go to school and act normal and be able to hide this emotion. Which a lot of people say, oh no, men need to be able to express their feelings. That's bullshit. You don't need to learn how to do that. Like, you learn to toughen up, and that becomes one of the most powerful things that happen to you. If you're a leader in a company, or you own a company, and anytime you're down or things are going south in a business, all your employees can tell. Everything's terrible, we're about to go under, we're about to go bankrupt. What do you think the employees feel? They go down, their productivity goes down, now the business is fucking screwed. So as a man, you need to be able to not show that emotion. You need to be able to hide it behind this mask. And it's a thing that people are like, oh no, but you need to be able to show it. You don't. That toughens you up. And then, if anything, you learn how to push past it. And that's what gives you resilience. That's where you learn skills. When you're in this world of pain, that's when you go, I need to learn other things to get me out of this. And then that's some of your most powerful memories and some of the most powerful things you learn because you learn how to push past it. And then there's a couple of situations where men are like, oh, I felt all this pain and I couldn't push past it and it ruined my life. That's why men need to express their emotions and need therapy and all this other shit. No, they just decided to be a victim and decided to be a pussy in that scenario. And so now they've learned, oh, well, whenever I tell other people how much I'm hurting, I get all this validation. Everybody tells me, oh, no, it's going to be okay. I'm going to keep doing this. And they start teaching it to other people. But it's not going to happen. If instead of seeking that validation from the other people or speaking about all this shit, they had just learned ways to push past it, they would be a much more powerful person right now. And they would have achieved a lot more success. So you need to be able to deal with shit in your own brain, force yourself to push past it yourself, because that's how you create those mental models. Like the horizon I was talking about earlier. Matt Ryder, that mentor, did somebody tell him that? The horizon trick? No, he was just doing the fucking push-ups on that 10-mile hike or whatever. And he's like, I'm just going to get to the end of that. And then he reflects on it after, holy shit, I developed this. Under that pressure is when you create these mental models that allow you to succeed and excel and be the best. And as soon as you go to other people for that, well, now you lose the ability to create those mental models, which is what would have made you stronger in the first place. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the keys where you need to be able to go through that and not really speak about your emotions and everything else. And I think that really helped me push to the next level.
Well, I think in terms of emotions, what's important is to still be able to feel and acknowledge the emotions, but then not go out like acting super depressed, like trying to like go to other people to try and help you and like act like someone's coming to save you. But for example, it's like, let's say I don't close a sales call. As like stupid as this sounds, like I try and like be more angry. Like I fucking lean into that emotion. Like I feel like just punching the wall or like punching my pillow or some fucking stupid shit. But it's like that pain and that anger is like what forces me to like reflect on that call. Be like, okay, what did I do wrong? Like what can I do better next time? How can I not make whatever mistake again? And then, for example, I'm going on a trip in a couple days, and then it's like my first time having my business run itself, and then be like fully away from that. And like I was honestly feeling pretty anxious but it was like I didn't go to fucking therapist, be like, oh, I'm so anxious right now, like please help me, please fix it for me. It's like, no, I'm feeling anxious. Why do I have that feeling? And what can I do about it? Like what's
That's exactly
that feeling
what it
trying
is.
to tell me? Yeah.
I'm a big believer in like, that's essentially what you're describing is stoicism. It's great to feel the emotions, but you have to use them properly. Like, as an example, I'm one of the most emotional people I know.
Yeah.
If you think about it, would I have the drive to try and help other people and do all these other things, even though I already have the money and everything else? Would I have the drive to do that if I wasn't deep down very emotional? No. It's that emotion. It's that feeling of not being loved or whatever it might be that gave me the drive in the first place to be this tough or to be able to project this mask or be able to be myself and be so strong and be able to push past certain things that happen to me. It's because I'm emotional that I was even able to do that in the first place. If I had no emotion, I wouldn't have the drive. I wouldn't have the power to actually get past that because I would have no emotion. You need emotion.
Yeah, exactly.
Anger is a driver. Stress is a driver. All those negative emotions are just power. It's little bursts of energy from the universe, if that's what you want to call it. And so you need to learn how to use it effectively.
Yeah, it's like feeling the emotions and then also asking yourself, like, what can this do for me? Like, how can I, like, take advantage of this?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you mentioned mental models before. I'm curious. So which are some of the other mental models that have helped you out with this kind of stuff?
I think a lot of the mental models, it's really interesting because a lot of people look online for like, oh, what are mental models I can adapt from this person or that person? Yeah. I think the best mental models are the ones that you find when you're getting forged by fire.
Right.
Like when you're in the shit and you're in the pain and you're like, I have to go through it. That's when you come up with some of your best mental models or coping mechanisms or whatever you want to call it, is when you're actually going through that. So like, for example, one of mine is like ultimate accountability. If on the way from the airport to come to this house here, if on the way I was in an Uber, right? If somehow the Uber driver flew off the road, hit a tree, we got fucking stabbed by some pole that was in the tree somehow, and now we're hanging out there and we're just dead. We died. Somehow, some way I convinced myself it's my fault. And to most people, that's like, that doesn't make any sense. That's illogical. Well, I don't care about what's true. I care about what's productive. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, what if somehow, some way I could have, I don't know, slapped the fucking Uber driver 5 minutes earlier, and so then we got into a fight, and he didn't go off the road, and then he drove slower, and then somehow we survived, and now we're good. And to most people, that makes no sense. That's so illogical.
Yeah.
But that's the mental model you need to have, where every problem that happens to you is your fault. Because if you believe it's somebody else's fault or something you can't control, you're giving the power to whoever's fault you believe it is. You're literally saying, I can't control this thing. I don't have any say over it. It is this person's responsibility or fault to change that for me. And there's no situation in which that's beneficial or good or true. None. And so one of the most useful mental models I have is any problem that happens is somehow my fault. Because then it allows you to take responsibility and make the proper changes you need to make, whether it's a certain action you need to take, somebody you need to become friends with, somebody you need to stop being friends with, somebody you need to fire or hire, whatever it is. You just learn to take absolute accountability. And I think that's one of the best mental models as a leader that you can have, or somebody who wants to be successfit's
And something else I'd add to that is like, yes, there's some things that like they are somebody else's fault. Like, let's say you hire a bad employee and that employee fucks up. It's their fault, but it's your fault for hiring the employee in the first place. It's your fault for like not seeing the red flags. So it's like, yeah, there's like a lot of stuff like it might not fully be on you, but then it's like it's on you for putting yourself in that situation.
Exactly. So like as an example right there, if you go, it's the employee's fault.
Yeah.
What are you admitting? You're admitting, oh, it's the employee's fault. I'm good. I didn't do anything. It's the employee. And you got to do something about that. Yeah, I'm going to fire him and I'm going to move on. Let's say you say that. I'm just going to fire him and I'm going to move on. Well, now what did you learn from that? Nothing. Because you said it's his fault. If you say instead, oh, it's my fault for hiring the guy. I should have seen the red flags earlier. Then you ask yourself, well, how could I have seen the red flags earlier? Oh, well, when I was interviewing him, I watched the recording. He said this one thing. This should have been a red flag to me. I should have noticed he was lying here because his eyes started twitching. Next time I do an interview, if I see that, I'm not hiring the guy because I know he's going to fuck me over and he's not being authentic. Now you learned. That's a real mental model that helps you.
100%. And I love what you were saying about like having a belief. It might not quite be true, but it is useful and it is something that helps you out. What other beliefs do you think you have like that?
I believe that anything I do, I could become the absolute best at. I believe right now you could cleat me up in soccer on a soccer field, tell me to practice for 12 months and I would go pro in Europe. Like I genuinely believe that anything I say I want to do, I believe I could become president one day, or I could be a billionaire, the youngest billionaire of all time. Yeah. Like anything I want to do, I believe I could be the best at it. I just have so much self-belief in myself, and I've proved it over and over and over again that I don't think there's anything I could do that I wouldn't be the best at. As delusional as it sounds, I believe I could start playing basketball and go to the fucking NBA, even though I'm only 6'1". Because yeah, it might be delusional. Maybe it's not true. I don't give a fuck. It's useful. When I first got into social media, as an example, I'd already been the best in sales and business. I went into social media. I was like, I believe I can be the fastest person to ever blow up in this industry. Most people would never say that. Oh, that's too big of a promise. Holy shit. What if it doesn't work? What if this? What if that? And you'll learn this is whatever bullshit. What did I do? I became the fastest person ever to grow in this industry to 100K. 6 months. I went from 0 to 100,000 followers. It started with the belief that I could do it. That's the difference. Then after that, there's one person who I guess kind of passed me, Giuliano Massarelli, but I wouldn't really consider that beating me because it's like dance videos and stuff, so it's not really in this industry. So there's kind of a mix there, but I mean, I make a lot more money than him off the content and stuff because again, if you're dancing and stuff, like it's really cool and I think he has a great mentality. I think he helps a lot of people, but that's not very monetizable. You know what I mean? Yeah, like it just starts with absolute self-belief. Anything I do. Starting in sales. When I was 16, I can be the absolute best at this. I can become the number one rep in the largest B2C sales training company in the world. I'm going to be the fucking best. What do I end up doing? In 9 months, not only am I the number one rep, I'm outcollecting the rest of that team combined 8 versus 1 by myself when I'm 17. So absolute certainty and belief that I can go into anything and become the absolute best at it.
100%. 100%. And I think that's like one of the beliefs that's like so essential if you want success in anything, or if you want to achieve literally any kind of goal. It's like you need to have that. And what do you think somebody can do? Like, let's say somebody has these really big goals, but they just don't feel that confidence. Like, how can somebody develop like the delusional sense of self-belief?
Number one, I think it's through proof and relentlessness.
Yeah.
So for example, at the very beginning when I was first starting in business sales, I didn't think, I'm going to be the number one rep in the largest. Like, I didn't think that shit. I started my agency. I got to $36K a month when I was 16 years old. 16 or 15? 16. When I was 16 years old, become the fucking best in that shit. Like, great, I'm doing good, whatever. Now I have a little bit more self-belief.
Yeah.
Then I start working in sales. First offer, I'm the number one guy. I'll collect the rest of that team. Great. Now a little bit more self-belief. Now let's go after the big dog. Now let's go after the largest BDC, $40 million a year. Now I have that belief. Fuck yeah, let's do it. The other thing is you get your belief from certain things. When I'm first starting and I'm not really making any money, or I'm making, I don't know, $5,000, $10,000 a month. I didn't get my belief and my confidence from the fact that I'd made a lot of money before. I got my belief and my confidence from the fact that I knew I was working harder than anybody else.
Yeah, right.
That's where you can get your proof from. Then eventually, I didn't even get my belief from that. Suddenly, I started getting my belief from the fact that I knew I'd invested more than anybody I knew. Between me and Impact Team, my company, we've invested into education over $250,000. I'm fucking 18. So you get your belief from certain things that you do better than anybody else. I had a belief I work harder than anybody else. So even though I have not necessarily made the money yet, if I outwork them and I learn the skill, I can be better than anybody. And that's what I did. So you have to look for certain avenues and aspects in your life where you have an advantage. It could be learning faster. It could be you're surrounded by the best people. It could be you work harder than them. It could be finally you've gotten results, and maybe now you get your certainty and your confidence from the money you've made or the success you've actually had. But you get it from different aspects, and that's where you get that delusional self-belief that is required. For
sure. And I really want to add to that. So I believe this podcast can be the biggest podcast for young entrepreneurs. And I've got massive goals with this shit here. And it's like, I see so much proof. It's like all my mind sees is proof that I can do that. Like, I've been able to get on awesome guests like yourself. And it's like, I'm putting a ton of effort into the questions, the preparation, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I've almost tricked my mind into believing, like, why the fuck can't it be the biggest podcast? Like, there's no reason why not.
That's exactly what it is. And I'll answer it from a psychology perspective as well.
Yeah.
Why is that? It's because in psychology, what you focus on produces a meaning, which produces an emotion, which produces an action. As an example, if you have somebody pass away, you can focus on the fact that, holy shit, this person passed away. I love them so much. I'm never going to see them again. Yeah. My life is over as I know it. And what is that going to create? An emotion, a very negative emotion. Holy shit, they're never coming back. My life, it's fucked. It's never going to be the same. Oh my God, I'm a fucking victim. Everything's terrible. What action is that going to produce? Well, not a lot of action at all. You're not going to really do anything. You're just going to sit there fucking depressed in your feelings all day. Not going to do anything. Same time. Same person dies. What's the thing we focus on? What do they want for me to accomplish? If we focus on that, what meaning does that produce? Holy shit, well, he wanted me to be the best at sales in the entire world. He wanted me to work 16 hours a day and figure that shit out, make it happen.
Yeah.
What emotion does that produce? Inspiration, maybe anger, drive. What action does that produce? Now you're working the 16 fucking hours a day. Same thing happened. Only thing that changes is what you focused on. So for you, if you focus on, I can have the best podcast in the world, and you're looking for evidence of that, like you said. I had Andres on my podcast. I saw you did an interview with the founder of Tiny.com. Fucking amazing.
Andrew, amazing guy.
Exactly. So you go, great. Well, exactly. And Nathan Nazareth, that's on your profile. Great. Well, that's evidence. That's what I'm focusing on. You're not focusing on the fact that you've only had, am I your third guest?
So third guest after restarting.
Third guest after restarting. You could focus on the fact that I've only had 3 guests. What does that produce? I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't figured this out. I can't really have a lot of guests. I need to kill this stupid fucking fly. Piece of shit. Okay. You could focus. Yeah, you need to put a little counter on the side or something. That's content game, by the way. That'll do. If you put a counter, I promise you it'll do way better. But okay, so you could focus on only third guest. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of screwed, this and this and that. Or you could focus on, Well, I had 3 guests, but I had fucking Nathan Nazareth, the founder of Tiny.com, and Andres on my podcast. I'm fucking crushing it. I'm killing this shit. I'm going to be the fucking best podcast for young entrepreneurs in the whole world. Now, if you do that, what emotion does that produce?
It's like, I'm so motivated. Yeah.
Exactly. The motivation, the drive, the inspiration. What action does that produce? Let's get the 4th fucking guest. I'm going to make him even better. Andres is going to look like a piece of shit next to him. And then that's what you produce. You see what I mean? So it's what you focus on. That creates the meaning, which creates the emotion, and then the action. And so it's exactly what you're saying with your podcast. It works the exact same way. And that happens with anything else. I could just as easily, when I was working 16, 17 hours a day, first starting not making any money, I could focus on the fact that I hadn't made any money. I'm a failure. I haven't done anything. My life is shit. Oh my God, this is terrible. Or I can focus on, well, I'm working harder than anybody else. I'm going to make some fucking money. Completely different action, meaning, emotion associated to all of that. That's another psychology or frame of mind you can take if you want.
100%. And another one that I'd love to add that you were touching on before is asking yourself, how can this happen for me rather than why did this happen to me? Like with the example you gave earlier, there was like someone's family member passing away. You can ask yourself, oh, why did this happen to me? Why am I a victim? Like, why is this a bad thing for me? Or you can ask yourself, why did this happen for me? Like, yeah, this fucking sucks, but what good can this put into my life? How can this make me a better man?
Absolutely. Like, what if everything that happened to you in your life didn't happen to you, but it happened for you? What if you woke up one day and you were like, I want to be the hardest working person in the fucking world. And so you got fired from your job and the only option you had was to start a business. And now you have to work 16 hours a day. Well, you could have looked at that job and getting fired as, oh my God, everybody's against me. I'm getting fired. I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm lost. Or you can look at it as that opportunity to finally become the hardest working motherfucker that you know.
Yeah.
What if everything in your life happened for you and not just to you? Then that allows you to become a lot more successful and you can grow and you have a much better drive than anybody else.
Yeah. And it's like simply just having that perspective, that can change your life. Like just by that one tiny shift.
Exactly.
100%. Okay. One sec. Okay, this is like off topic, but it's so funny. My employee literally just had like a fucking emergency. Just dealt with it on the podcast.
Well, that's good multitasking then.
Yeah, man. Don't you multitasking? I know. I saw that.
Don't
was
worry.
why.
I'll handle the audience in the meantime. You got it.
No, it was so funny. That was why there were all these rings coming in. He was just like texting me like freaking out about that, and then I was like, oh shit, should I just like stop the podcast? But fucking I'll multitask. Got to figure it out. But yeah. So one thing I'm really curious about is like, is there something in your life or a certain opinion you have about business, sales, anything that you want to talk about online, but you feel kind of scared or hesitant?
I don't think I'm really scared or like my digital footprint is pretty extensive at this point, I would say. So there's not much that I'm really scared to talk about or say. Like there's really nothing.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, I don't like one thing I'll say, but this is like I say this publicly all the time. I think one of the biggest issues with people trying to become successful and society as a whole at the moment is all the whole politically correct talk. Like you make a joke against the wrong group of people, all of a sudden you're criticized, everything goes bad, your account starts getting blacklisted, like all this shit happens to you. Like I think people trying to be politically correct is in and of itself such a detriment because what they're doing by doing that is they're trying to separate everybody else who was like, no, I'm gonna have freedom of speech, I'm gonna say whatever the fuck I want. My middle school was a perfect example of that. You say retard, they hold fucking pitchforks. Well, really, they're all pussies. So what they do is they kick you out of the Google Chats group chat. They kick you out of that, right? So, and then my friends, like my one or two friends there would just add me back to it and I'd keep rage baiting them. But anyways, yeah, I mean, whenever people are trying to be politically correct, I think number one, it's like you're just being scared.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you can be much more of a pussy than that. And at the same time, you have to understand that you're not just harming yourself by doing that, you're harming everybody else. Because humans are like sheep. So if 9 people in a group do one thing, the 10th person is almost always going to do the same thing. So if everybody's just being politically incorrect, following whatever they see online or in traditional media or whatever, everybody else who is a kid and growing up and doesn't know what to believe or what to think or what to say is just going to say the same thing that everybody else is saying. And so I think that's one of the, honestly, the massive detriments. Like that's why I'll say faggot online. Like I don't care. Like, I have zero hesitation in myself to say anything. Because like as soon as you stop talking, that's when conflict happens.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think you don't talk about enough in your content?
Don't talk about enough. I don't think there's anything. Like
Good.
I want to be clear. I think a lot about the content that I post. Not after I record it, but I think about it before in the sense of what do I want to record? What message do I want to spread?
Yeah.
Who do I want to help other people be? How do I want to inspire people? And when I think about that, then I plan all my content accordingly. I mean, we're posting 4 videos a day right now. We're about to up it to 5. On YouTube, we're about to up it to 4 videos a week and then eventually to 1 a day pretty soon. And if I want to talk about something, I fucking talk about it. Simple as that. Nobody's going to fucking stop me.
That's good, man. That's what it be.
And I've even had people try. Like I've had people try and criticize me. Even people that were close to me. Like, oh no, you shouldn't talk about that. No, you shouldn't say that. I don't give a fuck. If I'm true to myself and I'm who I truly am, then the people who want to be that same level of success, want to have the same mentality, the same level of work ethic and everything else, will also follow and do the same thing. And those are the people I want around me anyways. The people who want to fucking be themselves, who aren't scared of people, who want to work hard, who want to be successful. Those are the people I want around me anyways.
People respect it.
Absolutely. It's true.
100%. Totally. So the last question that I like to ask all the guests that come on here, and I recently changed this up. So I want you to think of yourself in the darkest time that you had in your life and think of one message that you'd have for yourself back then. What would that be?
I mean, I would preface this by saying that if somebody gave me the chance to go back to any point in my time and say anything to any version of me at any point, I wouldn't do it. Because who knows if maybe there was a point in time when I was going through a lot of pain, everything seemed shit, and I didn't think there was going to be any end. And all that pain, again, built me up in a certain way. But maybe if I was able to tell something to myself that alleviated the pain, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be able to handle that same level of pain again.
Right, for sure.
So that's number one. I wouldn't say anything. But if I had to say something, or if it wouldn't change the outcome I led to, but I could say something anyways, I would probably tell that version of me in high school who's just getting made fun of, who doesn't feel like he fits in, who doesn't feel like he's a part of this group whatsoever, that like you have to understand that the entire educational system, even society as a whole, it's been designed to, number one, for the worst person. If you think about in class, what's failure for a teacher? If you have a student fail your class, that's failure for a teacher. Their goal isn't to help 1 or 2 of the geniuses or people who can make it and be massive like you or me, or like a lot of people listening to this podcast to become the most successful version of themselves. No, it's to help the worst person pass the fucking class. And everybody else has to go into the same bucket and suffer in their own education, who they are as a person because of that. And so I would tell myself, if you don't fit into a group of people that are a bunch of pussies who don't want to work hard, who feel entitled, who just want to do drugs or party, who are never going to make anything of themselves statistically, that the majority of people, the average income in America is going to be like 60 grand a year, and you don't fit into the group that is about to produce that, is that not a good thing? That you don't fit into a group of people where the average person is going to make 60 grand a year, take years off their life drinking and partying and doing all this stupid shit, and you don't fit into that group. Is that not the best thing you could ever wish for?
Yeah.
I think so.
It really is.
And so I think most people listening to this might be in some positions similar to that, and that's what you have to understand for yourself, is that is your greatest blessing, to be a black sheep among sheep.
Totally agree, man. Well, man, Andreas, this was such an amazing podcast. I really appreciate you coming on. And where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, if you just look up my name on Just Contreras, Instagram, YouTube, all the major platforms, you'll find me on there. And yeah, thank you for having me, brother. And I hope it was helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, of course, man. And let's say someone got value from the sales part of this. What's the next step for them?
You could join the Impact team. That's where we're on a mission to make sales education accessible to everybody. And so I give all my scripts away, sales call recordings away publicly. I coach for free inside of there. All of it's completely free. Again, my mission is making sales education accessible to everybody because it changed my life and I wanted to change other people's as well. And so you could join that, and then hopefully I will see you on the other side.
100%. Well, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks, Andreas, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, brother.